freedom, man. That's what it's all about. You've got to groove on freedom, like the good book says.
Welcome. You are listening to What on Earth is Happening. This show will discuss the topics of human consciousness, mind control, natural law, the occult, and all issues that affect the freedom of the people of Earth. What on Earth is Happening will endeavor to shine light upon the darkness of our world and to offer empowering solutions to the problems we face as humanity approaches its critical moment of choice. And now, here is your host, Mark Passio.
Welcome one and all, you're watching What on Earth is Happening. I'm your host, Mark Passio. My website, whatonearthishappening.com. Ladies and gentlemen, government is slavery. And here on What on Earth is Happening, we are ending slavery one mind at a time. Welcome to the show, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Today is Sunday, July 21st, 2019. This is What on Earth is Happening, episode number 216. And today's show is an entire call-in show. All 3 hours, your calls. And the main topic for discussion is the topic that we covered over the last 2 shows here on What on Earth is Happening, which is our entire society is one big satanic ritual. Of course, you can watch the show live at whatonearthishappening.com/show. We multicast on YouTube Live, on Facebook Live, on Vimeo Live, and right at whatonearthishappening.com/show. You can click on the call-in link at the show page on What on Earth is Happening, and that will take you to our Discord server, our Discord call-in server. And we take our calls through Discord. We'll go over the rules for calls when I start to go to callers. I have a couple of quick housekeeping announcements for this show today. Let's actually cut over to the slide presentation. I will be speaking at Anarchadelphia 2019. This is the inaugural Anarchadelphia conference hosted by the people at the State of Anarchy. The conference will be taking place September 13th through 15th. I will be speaking on Saturday, September 14th, and my main presentation for the conference is entitled The Sacred Gift of Anger. You could order your tickets at the banner at the homepage of What on Earth is Happening, or you can go directly to anarchadelphia.com. There is a 5% off discount code with the promo code Passio. If you enter Passio at checkout, you will get 5% off of your ticket sale, and 5% of the ticket sale will be donated directly to What on Earth is Happening. Also at Anarchadelphia 2019 will be the debut of my first full-length documentary film called Mark Passio and the Science of Natural Law. Now, I want to let everyone know, in the interest of full disclosure, more likely than not, unless we really, make huge strides, it looks like we're only going to probably have a rough cut of the documentary ready for Anarchadelphia. If that changes, we will have the final cut ready, but I probably won't be able to have, DVDs and flash drives available for sale. Hopefully we can turn that around and, kick it up into higher gear and have a final edit ready. But I just want to prepare people that we may just screen a rough cut for the conference. So we're working as hard as we can to get that prepared in its final form, but just in the interest of, total disclosure and honesty when it comes to advertising, I just want to let people know we may just be screening a rough cut at the conference. That being said, on the day after the conference, on Monday, September 16th, I will be delivering an all-day seminar entitled Teaching Natural Law with Mark Passio. This will be Monday, September 16th, all-day event, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. with a 1-hour lunch break in between. This is hosted at Poppy's Italian Restaurant, 3120 South 20th Street, and tickets for the all-day workshop following the Anarchadelphia conference are $120. You can get your tickets at anarchadelphia.com for both the conference and the workshop. We did a summer t-shirt sale, and the t-shirts are completely sold out. So we have no t-shirts in inventory at the whatonearthishappening.com gifts area, at the donation gifts area. So thank you to everyone who took us up on the offer of t-shirt sales. We are completely sold out of shirts. New shirts have been pressed, and the order is coming in this week. So I will probably have those on the store sometime later this week. In addition to that, the Anarchy and the Occult Part 2 presentation that I gave at Anarchapulco 2019 in Acapulco, Mexico back in February has been edited and is complete. The video is now in my hands, and we are going to basically be pressing that in the form of flash drives and DVDs. Those will be available in the What on Earth is Happening gifts, donation gifts area also later this week with the new t-shirt designs. So definitely check out the gifts area later this week, and we will have some new items up there. Plenty of new items, actually. Also, the Tesla and Humanity's missing paradigm shift presentation that I gave at the Tesla conference back in January will be available for free on YouTube later this week. So a lot of new developments happening here at What on Earth is Happening. So stay in tune with the website and check out all this new material. I think after the following week's show, which is going to be on some of the aspects of the major arcana of the tarot, I've been wanting to deliver that Tesla and Humanity's missing paradigm shift presentation in an extended form. So I think in a couple of weeks, I'm going to take the whole show and really unpack that presentation that I only had a few minutes really to deliver at the Tesla conference because of how many speakers they have at a conference like that. I'm going to really unpack that here on What on Earth is Happening in a couple of weeks. So I'll be doing an extended format version of Tesla and Humanity's missing paradigm shift. I think that's all the event announcements that I have. This is the show for today, the artwork. It's the call-in show for the topic we've been talking about, we've been discussing over the last 2 weeks. I did 6 hours on this topic, that our entire society is just one big satanic ritual. And I want to just preface the calls with one brief thing, a couple of things actually. The first is, of course, I didn't cover every aspect of how our society is a huge satanic ritual. There is so much more to it. I just barely scratched the surface. I'm sure people today, when calling in, are going to bring up topics that absolutely fit into this discussion, but yet were left out of my formal presentation over the last couple of weeks. So I'll be looking forward to that. If anyone has any questions that they want to ask regarding clarification of these topics, that's also completely on the table. And there's no taboo topics. Talk about anything you like. Ask any questions that you like. In general, we're talking about the last 2 episodes. And I just want to reiterate, I'm going to do this a few times over the next few shows. For any new listeners, new viewers to the show, you have to realize that What on Earth is Happening is a tapestry of information. No one show stands alone on its own. You cannot really deeply understand each show that I do here on What on Earth is Happening unless you have listened to the previous shows in order, at your own pace. and take them in their entirety, and also look at the ancillary material, links, documents, videos, etc., images that I post with each episode. It's a study course. That's what What on Earth is Happening is. It's not just a normal podcast. You have to stop thinking about what on earth is happening if you're a new viewer, or even if you're an experienced viewer who have heard many shows. You cannot look at this show as just an ordinary, any other podcast, because it's not. It's a teaching course. Okay, like any other college course. You wouldn't start taking advanced calculus unless you took algebra and pre-calculus, because those are prerequisite classes, okay? And you wouldn't take those unless you had basic mathematics, okay? So every episode preceding this one, from number 1 through number 215, are prerequisites to this episode. So I just want to reiterate that. I'm going to keep reiterating that over the next several broadcasts, because I think a lot of people still don't understand that. No one episode of What on Earth is Happening stands on its own. They are meant to be taken in as a tapestry of information. And each episode that I do, well, no matter what number it is, every numbered episode before that is a prerequisite to understanding what I talk about in the most recent episode. So please understand that, okay? I hear people saying, you left this and this out of that episode, because I don't reiterate all 200 episodes before this. You know, go back from number 1, listen in order, at your own pace, and the tapestry will emerge in your mind, and you'll get it. It'll all click. You'll have several aha moments, and you'll be like, oh, that's what he's talking about in later episodes. The worst thing anybody could do is go to the latest episode and just start listening from there. Bad idea. Bad idea. Okay? So I just want to make that very abundantly clear for new viewers, okay, who don't understand that aspect of this broadcast. Okay, this isn't Joe Rogan's podcast where you can listen to anyone isolated and he just has his guest on and that's it, and that episode stands on its own. That's not What on Earth is Happening, and that'll never be What on Earth is Happening. So please understand that from now and for all time. Okay, so that being said, I want to show people something that was kind of brought to my attention through some people posting about it on social media in relationship to the 2 last episodes that I did. So I'm just going to step out of my presentation for a moment. I'm going to go over to my web browser. Oh, and real quick, let's switch back to the computer. But real quick, I want to let people know, first of all, the Anarchadelphia banner for tickets is right on the homepage of What on Earth is Happening. But if you go to the news section right here, or if you scroll down on the homepage of What on Earth is Happening and you go to the latest news section on the left, I have posted my latest interview with Carmen Karanji of the State of Anarchy, okay? And we talked about a little bit about what my presentation at Anarchadelphia was going to be about, the sacred gift of anger. The other topics covered were New Age bullshit and how I've exposed that and talked about false New Age spirituality teachings and offered corrections to the types of subtle deceptions that are offered in the New Age movement. And we talked a lot about true spirituality and true spiritual teachings from a streetwise spirituality perspective in this interview. So that's the latest interview that I did, and that's up in the news section of whatonearthishappening.com. I just wanted to mention that and get that out there for people. Now, the thing I was getting ready to get into is that some people posted some very appropriate material on some social media comments that I happened to take note of regarding the last couple of shows on Satanism. And a lot of people have no clue. I started the whole broadcasts over the last 2 shows on Satanism with a quote from Thomas Jefferson saying, "A person is closer to the truth who knows absolutely nothing than a person who believes that they know, but really they have an erroneous belief system about something." Okay? They are way farther away from the truth. Someone who thinks they have the correct answer and believes it yet they don't have the information that they really need to understand. A person who's totally ignorant and knows absolutely nothing about a topic and doesn't think that they know something about a topic is way closer to the truth than someone in what I call negative knowledge, meaning that they have a false belief about what they think something is all about and believe that they have the correct answer and believe that they have the truth regarding it. And let me tell you something, folks, this is almost 100% of people when it comes to the topic of Satanism. They have their head lodged way up their asshole about what they think about Satanism. And they have absolutely no fucking idea about it whatsoever at all. Zero, zilch, nada. Okay? And they don't want to hear it. They want to believe their belief is correct, and that's it. Nothing can dissuade them from that fact. So some people corroborated exactly what I've been saying about real Satanism. I'm not talking about Hollywood Satanism in any of these broadcasts, folks. I'm talking about the power structure that runs the earth. I'm talking about the grip, the iron grip that this planet and its people are firmly seated in. Okay? Those masters of the world. They're not devil worshippers in the sense that Hollywood wants you to believe Satanism is, so that you're totally off the path of what you think the psychopaths who run this whole planet are all about. You know nothing of their mindset if you think that's what Satanism is. And you got jackass, fake-ass Christians trying to tell me I don't know what Satanism is and these ignorant fucks do. You don't know one fucking thing about what you're talking about when it comes to Satanism, and I'll tell you so just like that to your ignorant ass face. All right? I'm sick of being told I don't know what I'm talking about when this was my personal fucking life experience. I'm tired of that shit. You're not going to tell me what I've experienced in life. You haven't been where I've been. You haven't been in the rooms I've been in. You haven't been around the people I've been around. You don't know what the fuck I know. You can think you do all you want. It doesn't make it true, boys and girls. So don't tell me what my life experience has been. Your head's up your ass and you're full of shit. I'm fired up over it, folks, because more and more people try to do this to try to get under my skin. You know? And they're not going to like what happens. They try to do it in person with me. Don't go up to a man and tell him he hasn't had the life that he's lived. It's a bad idea. You'll do it on the internet because you're a little chicken shit coward. Keyboard commando hiding behind a fucking screen. Try doing that to somebody's face and see what happens. You know, I'm not playing games with this anymore, folks. I'm done with people. You know? Call me a liar and tell me my personal life experience didn't happen? No, not to my face you're not doing it. All right? Know that. So, sorry about just the direct confrontation about this, but I'm fed up with it. Okay? And I need to get it off my chest and say something about it. The nerve. Like the straight up balls the people have. It's like me telling a Parisian, you've never been to Paris. You don't know what the fuck that city's about. You know? And I've been there like once. Or somebody who's never been there saying something like that. You know, very presumptuous and high-level hubris that people have about this stuff. So, getting back to what I was going to talk about, I want to let people see right from the horse's mouth. I'm going to go to the Church of Satan's official website right now in real time. Let's switch back to the computer. I brought up the Church of Satan. This is www.churchofsatan.com. Okay, this is the official website of the Church of Satan. This is an organization that I was a priest within. Again, the other thing I hear people saying all the time is that I've ever claimed to be a high priest of any aspect of Satanism. You will not find me ever in any footage, in any audio, ever using the term I was a high priest. I was never a high priest of anything. I was appointed to the rank of priest, the simple rank of priest within the Church of Satan. That is one of their ranks in their ranking system, in their hierarchical system, in the Church of Satan. That is what my rank was when I was a member as Reverend Mark Rokar. which is my assumed name that I took in the dark occult, in Satanism, which I've gone over in my presentation called Occult Mockery of Police and Military Personnel, and I've also gone over extensively in my presentation called Demystifying the Occult Part 2, Satanism and the Dark Occult. But people want to talk out their ass and not look at the data. That's what they do. They form an incorrect opinion based on their beliefs, don't look at the actual data, and then claim to be right. And then say that they're somehow researchers and they know what's going on when they can't even think properly because they have a burnt fucking brain. Right on the Church of Satan's homepage, okay, you can click. I'm going to show you where to click. You go right here to Frequently Asked Questions. This button right here, F.A.Q, which stands for Frequently Asked Questions. Click that button. This will take you to a page called Church of Satan Frequently Asked Questions. If you scroll down on that page, it will give you a list of FAQ topics. Okay? There's something called Internet Presence, Press, and Student. Fundamental Beliefs is number 3, and they go on with other topics up through 21 topics, okay? I want to call people's attention to link number 3 on the Church of Satan's Frequently Asked Questions list. If you click that link, Fundamental Beliefs, it will take you to the FAQ on Fundamental Beliefs of the Church of Satan. The first question asked is, why do Satanists worship the devil? And the answer from the Church of Satan is, verbatim, quote, we don't. Satanists are atheists. We see the universe as being indifferent to us. And so all morals and values are subjective human constructions. This is the first and second tenets of Satanism. Their God and morals are subjective, moral relativism. Now listen, let's keep going. Our position is to be self-centered. I'm going to highlight this. Our position is to be self-centered, with ourselves being the most important person or the God of our subjective universe. So we are sometimes said to worship ourselves. Our current high priest, Peter Gilmore, calls this step moving from being an atheist to being an I-theist. Satan to us is a symbol of pride, liberty, and individualism, and it serves as an external metaphorical projection of our highest personal potential. We do not believe in Satan as a being or person. What more proof does any asshole need? Because see, what it's coming from, folks, is people who don't want to know the truth. It's coming from people who want to say, my religion has it right. Fuck you. I don't want to hear your research. I don't want to hear your knowledge. I want to hear what my pastor down on the church corner says about it and listen to his jackass opinion on it when he's an uninformed dupe that knows less than nothing because he has an ill-informed, unread, uneducated opinion and belief about it instead of actual knowledge about it. You don't know what you're talking about, scum. Because that's what you are. Religious believing scumbag. Is it an ad hominem attack? You're damn right it is. Because an ad hominem attack can say the truth about a person. It has nothing to do with what I'm saying regarding the truth about what real Satanism in the world, the real satanic ideology that runs the world is all about. Because that's it right there. This is it right there. That's it right on the screen. Okay, look right there on the screen. That's what real Satanism is, boys and girls. And they're all too happy to tell you publicly. Right on their own site, in their own frequently asked questions section, corroborating exactly what I've been trying to explain to you about what Satanism is for the last 12 fucking years. Because these people aren't even covert about it. And let me tell you something. This is the ideology behind the whole political slavery system. This is the ideology behind the whole slavery banking system. This is the ideology behind all the other satanic aspects of our society that I talked about for a damn 6 hours over the last 2 weeks. So, Don't take my word for it. Hear it right from the horse's mouth itself. Okay? I just wanted to say that. And want to thank the people for posting that, bringing it to my attention in certain social media posts for putting that out there for others to say, here it is, exactly what he's saying is exactly the way that it is. And you can go on and on, just read their literature, just read their books, go read LaVey's writings, go read the Satanic Bible, the Satanic Rituals, the Devil's Notebook, all the other works from LaVey, the book The Church of Satan, by I don't know whether that was Gilmore or it might have been Aquino. I'm not really certain. Go read the Ruby Tablet of Set from Michael Aquino. Go read, all the other works from the Temple of Set and Michael Aquino. It'll corroborate exactly what I'm saying. You don't have to believe anything I'm saying. It's all out there publicly. But what you have out there are bullshitter, fake-ass Christians that just believe their Bible-thumping version of reality. That's all they care about. And what they're doing is a disservice to humanity by trying to tell people this is about going in the forest in black robes and sacrificing some dogs and worshiping the devil. Worshiping the devil. Yeah, that's what it's about. You're a smack jackass who doesn't know what you're talking about, punk. I know exactly what I'm talking about because I was involved in it and you weren't. And you weren't. You just think you know. And you don't know ass. I'm just coming out and saying it just like it is in plain street language because I'm fed the fuck up. If you can't tell. So, let's go to your calls on this topic. And here's what I want from people. If you're willing to go in this direction. Again, people can take it in whatever direction that they want. What I want to see on this call-in show is I want to hear questions to clarify what I talked about on the last 2 weeks and what I just said here earlier. I would love your questions to anything that you want me to further elaborate on or clarify. And I want to hear aspects of the Satanic Society that I missed, that I didn't get to, or I left out of the presentation. Because as I said, I guarantee there are lots of those, and people can bring those up on this show. So let's very briefly go over the rules for the call-in show, because this is something I want to reiterate from time to time on certain shows as well. Okay? So the call-in room isn't a chat room when you go on Discord. You're not going to have crosstalk. You're not going to be able to text others. That's off hours. We implemented that as long as it's done respectfully, and people have been being pretty good about that. I thank you for that. Okay? And you could post, you could talk, you could chat off hours. During the show, I don't want that distraction. Okay? So the call-in room isn't a chat room. Member discussions take place when the show isn't live, okay? It's highly recommended to use the Discord desktop app. I don't care how good people think, phone apps are, right? They're not as good as a computer. I've said this before. I'm not a big fan of mobile platforms. I particularly hate iOS. I think it's a jail, literally. It's literally a prison in the mobile computing space. I don't use iOS. I use either Windows, on a tablet, or I use Android on phones and other tablet devices, because it's at least somewhat customizable and not as restrictive as iOS. I don't really think it's a good idea to call in through any mobile platform. Personally, I think you should use a computer with a USB headset or a good microphone, a good clear mic, and you will get the best quality and the best experience. That's my take on that. Okay. You click into the call-in room to enable voice calling. Okay. During the call, there's no video. You're not going to have your face anywhere, on the show. Okay, just our cameras live here in the studio are live. Okay, so it's just your voice, right? Don't listen to the show on the live stream during a call-in show. Listen in Discord. The live stream is going to be delayed, right? Then you're going to be listening to me like 20, 30 seconds behind. And when I call on you, you're going to miss me calling on you, and I'm going to go to someone else. So when you're a caller, if you're just watching the show, that's great. Watch on, whatonearthishappening.com/show or YouTube Live on my YouTube channel, okay? Don't do that if you're a caller. Listen to the show in the Discord app, okay? I keep my mic live during the show, all right? So Please mute any device that emits any sound in your room. You should not be having your audio come through speakers in the room. Your room should be perfectly silent to anyone who walks in the room. You should be listening through earbud headphones or a headset like I'm wearing, okay? Please don't call into the show if you have your audio coming through speakers that are audible in the room. It's going to create a feedback loop. There's going to be echo and or feedback, which is, I'm going to cut your call off. Okay? So, use headphones or earbuds. Okay? If you're not using those and it creates an echo, I'll cut the call. I'll determine what calls I want to take and in what order I take them, okay? So it's like, this isn't necessarily a one after another, order. It's like, I'm going to say, if I want to go to this person next, I'm going there next. I know that's not totally egalitarian, but it's how it is, okay? And there's no call screening. So, nobody's going to pick up and say, hey, what do you want to talk about? I'm going to pick up and say, you're live on the air. That's it. So be ready with your question or comment, okay? Have your microphone unmuted on your end. Have your mic unmuted. I will server unmute you when I go to your call and say you're live on the air. I think that covers all the rules. We've done this a couple of times, and when we have call-in shows, I usually like to reiterate it and go over it. So let's go right to your calls. This is episode number 216. We're going to go live to Ron. Ron, you are live on What on Earth is Happening, episode 216. Our entire society is one big satanic ritual. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. It's good to be here. How are you doing today?
I'm all right. I'm fired up as I have been for the last many weeks because we're degenerating rapidly into this.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. The last couple of weeks, I've been listening like normally, but you've been pretty amped up. And in fact, my wife and I just watched a documentary yesterday called Heal, and it was just a big warning for me to chill because the cortisol racing through our veins 24/7 is not healthy. So I'm going to try to stay somewhat mellow because I could get amped up in a heartbeat and just dance with you, and it'll go blow some stuff up or something. Yeah,
I hear you.
So I got a couple quick anecdotes I was going to share with you, and stop me and riff with me anything you want, of course. But so I'm a professional coach. I'm a writer. My job is to help people live the best version of their life. I wrote a book called Uncompromised. Awesome.
Cool.
I teach coaches all over the world, and man, oh man, you have nailed it with fake ass Christianity and the new age bullshit. 100%. I mean, I live in New York and Massachusetts, and this is what I do for a living, dude. I live behind enemy lines. It's crazy.
I believe it, especially up there. I mean, it is, they got people. People up there are gotten. People here in Philadelphia are gotten and gone, but I'm telling you, it's even worse up in New York.
Yeah, but New York is insane. I mean, the whole abortion thing, insane. Now this thing with the vaccinations. Let me get to the vaccination thing in a second. I'll start with a little bit of good news because you often talk about being a teacher of teachers. And I want you to know, just to feel a little encouraged that, I've been teaching this, some version of natural law and kind of patchwork for years because I knew I'm not the center point of the universe.
Right.
And, there's got to be a system. I went through a phase of being a hardcore Christian and, that way of understanding the universe didn't quite work out. It's not quite it. It's got to be. And I'll tell you what, I had somebody mention you and I checked you out and dude, I watched Natural Law back to back. Awesome, intense work. I've been enrolled started to include it in my coaching work and my teaching. And I was asked to teach at the International Coach Federation, which is the international governing body of coaches, at one of their workshops in Colorado. And I messed them up. I left them all pretty much speechless at the end, which, because I trapped them with their own ideology, which was, and if you'll just bear with me 30 seconds, I'll run you through it and then I'll stop talking. But I asked them, look, do you believe in karma, which they all do, karma, law of cause and effect, law of compensation, which basically means, everybody, that if you put good out in the world, you're going to get good back. If you put crap out there, you're going to get crap back. Of course, every coach is like, hell yeah. And I knew I had them. So I said, so good. You live in a moral universe, right? And they're like, yeah, right. Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. And I said, fine. Can you initiate force against someone? No. Well, what if it's for good? like old lady down the street, and you know where I'm going. Old lady down the street, she's indigent. She just has to get to Chicago, and I hold a gun to this guy just to get $100 to get her on a Greyhound. Can I do that? They're like, no, you can't. Well, what if I vote for somebody to do it? What if I vote for somebody who's in a nice suit to hire somebody to point a gun at somebody else to take their money? They're like, no way can you do that. And I'm like laughing my ass off.
But then in the next breath, they'll say that they go out and vote.
But dude, you bet. But I said, how in the world then? I mean, this was over the course. I'm doing it fast because this audience, and of course,
Sure.
you know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I did this over an hour. So I tightened the noose little by little, And I said, guys, you vote. As soon as you vote, you're saying, I vote for this band of individuals. I didn't want to, build it up too much, but these group of people to say, I accept your form of violence for what I want you to do. And if they go ahead and shoot people or gun them down or microwave them or ear blast them with sound cannons, I think that's fine to get their money to give to a kid so we can school him in Alabama. And I said, how is that moral based on what you've all said? And nobody had a word to say. Nobody could say anything.
Right. Because it's cognitive dissonance. They're holding contradictory notions about reality in the mind simultaneously. And if you really run that through the analytical processor of the brain, it doesn't compute and it creates an error. And people have to see that about themselves, that they are lying to themselves about our condition being slavery, and that they can somehow delegate rights that no one else has because they're violence to anybody else. And once you see that, you understand that the only moral position in all of life is a position of anarchy, of true anarchy, meaning that there are no rulers, there's no ruling class, government becomes inherently morally illegitimate. And if we're being honest with ourselves, that's the truth. The problem is the majority of the human population is not only not honest with themselves, they have drank the Kool-Aid and wholesale subscribed to the satanic cult that runs the world, which is the powers that lie beyond and behind government, behind the ostensible realms of power, and they go into the occulted realms of power. They can't see that this whole process of keeping people in this type of inversion, of moral inversion, and in this psychological cognitive dissonance is part of a huge satanic ritual to turn society's morality onto its head and get us unconsciously creating chaos collectively.
Well, and in the personal growth world too, when you think about coaches, my job is to help you get clear about who you are, what you want, where you're going, and to make it happen. And so though most coaches would say, well, we don't solve problems. I'm like, hell yeah, people come to us because they want X. They can't quite get there themselves. They need a little bit of help to bounce some things off of. Somebody asks some good questions. And so I say to them, look, what is a problem? A problem is I don't know what to do, or I know what to do, but I don't have the moral courage to do it. And I said to them at the end, I said, look, everybody's being quiet here, and that's because you don't know what to do with this information I've just walked you through. I said, and that's okay, but you said you can't go back now and pretend you didn't hear it, or you don't get that you're kind of trapped.
That's right. And it's great that you're planting seeds like that, because as you just said, that truth cannot be unheard. You've spoken it into creation, and that's what helps bring people further along. Even if a few of them eventually get it down the line, that happened as a result of you planting those seeds in their mind.
Right. So good work, man, because you've made a huge impact on me, and now I'm able to take it to a community that would be completely too deaf to remotely come anywhere close to it. And they have impact on hundreds of thousands of people, these coaches around the world. So.
Well, thank you very much. And I want to thank you for what you're doing regarding that, because you're helping people be exposed to this in that sort of indirect way where they may not come and listen to my work, but they're getting it, through you. And you're bringing them along in the way that you can do it. And that's what the great work is to do. And it can be done this way. Not everybody has to take it from Mark Passio. I've said that an innumerable amount of times. Most people will not be ready to take it from the transformer that I am. Like, that's like putting, a 10,000 volt line right into somebody. Some people have to step it down and give it to people in a way that they can absorb it more readily. And I appreciate that you're doing it like that, and I wish more people were.
Well, everybody's got to do it. And, you've said this in so many other venues that you've spoken at, where, look, do it your way. And if you're a garbage man, then talk to the people on the other end of the truck. If you're a fireman, you got hours to sit and shoot the breeze with guys. And We're
talk to
not
people,
helpless.
Talk to people at their level. I wanted to, make people aware. I'm not trying to talk down to the least common denominator level. I'm trying to reach the other potential teachers like yourself who are already there, or maybe even most of the way there, but they need that just little extra, motivation, and just helping them to get fired up to get out there and do that work. So, I like hearing stuff like this, that, people are doing it in their own way with their own aesthetic applied and at their own pace, because that's, again, what the great work is all about. No one has to do it like I do it. I like the way I do it. I'm comfortable in my skin. This is my personality in real life, which I've shown over time progressively more. Some people may not like it. I don't care. I'm comfortable with who I am. I'm honest with myself about who I am and where I am spiritually in life. I'm okay with, the anger that I perceive and see and express. And, that's what my talk at Anarchadelphia is going to be about this year. And many people don't have to do it that way. You're free to do it an entirely different way, and so that's what being individuals are all about, is all about. Some people will do it an entirely different way. The key factor is that you're actually taking action and out there doing something. So thank you for taking that action and developing the courage to do so.
You're welcome, brother. I was going to share the other thing about the vaccines. Do we have another minute?
Sure, go right ahead.
Okay, cool. So, you were like I said earlier, I mean, you were knocking out of the park. I mean, the last couple of weeks, but last week you were just all over it, and the vaccines thing and the abortion thing, and it's absolutely heinous. And I've still got a lot of affinity for the potential in Christianity, because you've got people who believe that there is a God, there is a truth, there is something that can be done, and we can be done, and if we follow truth. They're just so asleep. It's insane. And people are saying, well, God is going to judge us. Dude, when we are celebrating busting up children's bodies inside the mother, that's God's judgment. It's already here. So wake up, everybody. The other side of this is, once they get out and we don't have the pedophilia shit going down all over the place, we're going to juice them full of thimerosal and aluminum and formaldehyde, which are carcinogens and neurotoxins. Well, New York State, in case nobody knows, is just the latest state that's passed a law that you've got mandatory compulsory education for anyone under 18 in New York, as well as many other states. Now, in order to go to public school, private school, or parochial school, you must be vaccinated. My children have never been vaccinated. And the bill, I'm going to get the days a little bit wrong, but basically you have 30 days to comply, which means you got 30 days, in case of my children, to get vaccinations, which means like 30 doses, because there's oftentimes more than one dose in each vaccine, followed by immediately a second series of doses. And there's no choice. I mean, it's like you're either doing this or you're homeschooling, or the choice, of course, if you follow it out, is people will come to your house and say, where are your children? And then if you say, get lost, men with guns will come for the good of your children, of course, to make sure they're vaccinated. If you resist, someone's going to die. Someone's going to end up in a cage for the good of your children.
That's why I'm saying it's almost time for open armed rebellion against this tyranny. I mean, it's almost time for that, and it's going to come time for that. There's going to come a time, because these people aren't going to back down. They're not going to back down, and it's going to have to go that way at some point, unfortunately. I don't want to see it go that way. That's not my desire, because war is beyond hell. And I'm telling you, it's going to end up going hot war in America, unfortunately, because people aren't listening to the warnings. They're not, and they're just not moral people. That's why a revolution is always kicked off. When you have an immoral population that is willing to allow violence to go on unrestrained like it is, you are going to invariably end up at bloodshed. Invariably. And that's where we're headed, folks. I mean, people better get psychologically and physically prepared for it. I keep telling people, if you're not, first of all, spiritually ready, that's a big problem. If you're not psychologically ready for what war is going to be, you're going to be caught. You're going to be like not able to mentally function when it happens. And you have to be physically ready. If you don't have arms and ammunition ready to go, you're crazy at this point. You are an insane human being. I've been telling people this for years. If you do not have the ability to defend yourself with battle-ready military-grade weaponry, you are mentally unstable as far as I'm concerned, because you're not looking at the state of reality as it really stands and then accurately preparing for what may very well be the eventuality. And to me, that means that someone doesn't really care about themselves. They have some form of self-loathing where they don't engage the self-defense principle. That's why the whole thing of the right to keep and bear arms is so important to me and in this work. And there are many people that still can't understand it and still will not prepare. You know, especially people from Europe. That's a big thing over there. That has been removed from them. They're like a lab animal, literally. The social engineers have gone in and extracted at a DNA level, at an Epi-Eugenics level, epigenetically removed the desire for self-defense. And that's a scary thing that these social engineers and Satanists have been able to do. And, you know,
it's a dangerous spiritual place to be.
Horrifying. And they'll still fight me on it and say, I don't have it right. I'm wrong, and that should never be done. There's no ever place for any kind of physical rebellion. You are out of your rabbit-ass mind if you actually think that. You think that's spirituality? That's nothing spiritual of the sort if you're willing to let tyrants run roughshod on all of humanity without physically stopping them.
Right.
Nothing spiritual in that.
It's an abdication of our natural manhood for guys like us, and for women to do the same thing, to let their bodies be treated like just dumpsters to put stuff in and take it out, and yank it out like it's nothing. So, dude, can I have one last thought? 12 seconds, and I'll let you go.
Absolutely, go right ahead.
I just want to say that, and of course, this is any of us who have gone down this road, and you're a big fan of None Dare Call It Conspiracy. You read that, you listen to your stuff, you get to really know what's going on in the world. It could be completely overwhelming, and this is a spiritual condition. And I just want to encourage everybody, and I'm preaching to myself too, is if you got to turn the fountain off a little bit or turn it down a little bit to get a little breather, so we're not just running at full throttle all the time. You don't want to drop dead of this. Right. And all this is an indication that we just have got to keep growing spiritually so that we can deal with the truth head on and not be afraid.
And that's a great point that you make there, Ron, because that's something I need to remind myself of sometimes. I am way more spiritually armored than 99% of human beings out there. Yeah. I have extremely thick skin and armor when it comes to just being affected by things. It doesn't mean I'm not affected or I don't have a full emotional response range. What it is I'm super armored when it comes to that, because of what I know. The knowledge and experience of what I've been through in this life has protected, shielded, and armored me in certain fashions that I have to be aware other people don't have. They don't have that type of shielding that is in place around me. And I'm not saying that to toot my own horn or like say I'm better than anybody. It just happens to be the case. And a lot of people, like something that would just not affect me at all, or that I would be able to deal with and integrate, just melts them down, you know? And it's something that I should be aware of, because like I said, I am stronger than other people in many regards in those aspects.
Well, you said you went through a year of just pounding out death metal and confronting yourself again and again and again. If people haven't done that, they didn't do their death metal year and looking at themselves, then they're busy going out for ice cream tonight and sitting in the pool and hanging out. And anything that messes with that is just devastating, let alone the full load.
I'll tell you what, you just brought to my attention by even saying that. I want to throw a shout out, because I've been watching some of his work, and it's really great stuff. Like Sethicus Boza from Black Earth Productions has been putting out some good work about the shadow work that we have to do to strengthen ourselves spiritually. He just interviewed Jordan Maxwell. The stuff that Jordan was talking about was just fantastic. And, I spoke with Sethicus about a week ago and went through some of his more recent stuff that he wanted to turn me on to. And it's I think this is the kind of stuff that we need right now, is showing people how to work through this material and be confrontative regarding the deep, dark aspects of ourselves. Most people don't want to go there and don't want to look at that stuff. I've been doing that type of stuff for so long that it's like nothing to me. It's like going into the gym and doing your normal workout that you could just knock out in a half an hour. It's And then other people, they do 5 minutes of it and they're like curled up in a fetal position, weeping their eyes out, So it's like, I shouldn't take that for granted and realize there's a whole spectrum of where people are at regarding that. And many of them, it's just like, you're lobbing a 30-pound medicine ball at them and it's like they're going to get knocked over. They don't have the strength or the will to deal with it because they haven't done that much work on themselves, Yeah. It's a stepwise progression. So, thank you for that reminder to me as well. And, I think people should definitely check out more material that delves into the occult shadow work because it's very profound and important. I think Michael Tessarion does a lot of good work on that as well, Right. And I think people should look into people who are really doing stuff like that. I think Max Egan does great stuff regarding that, talking about the things we have to confront in ourselves that we may not like. So there's many good teachers out there that are talking about this type of work. And, we have to realize it is a spectrum in people, and we have to try to take some of the people who haven't, shielded themselves as well and built up that spiritual armor and help them along to go further down the path so they're going to be ready for what's coming, because what's coming, it's looking extraordinarily deep and dark because we're not really turning it around at the pace that we need to be. So people like you doing the great work may help to turn it around. So I appreciate that, and I want to encourage you to keep going.
Thanks, brother, very much. And you keep up your good work. I know you will. And look forward to connecting another time.
Thank you, Ron. Great call. Thanks so much for all your insight today. Thank you. See, that's what on earth is happening is all about. All right. Let's see. Who else is holding here? Plenty of people holding. Let me look at the... Let's see. Hold on. Give me 1 second. All right. Let's go to... Let's go to Nick. Nick, you're live on What on Earth is Happening, episode 216. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Mark. It's
yes.
Great to be able to talk to you. I just want to do a quick sound check to make sure that I'm coming in at good quality.
You're coming through loud and clear. You sound perfect.
Okay, fantastic. Mark, I just wanted to talk, actually just hear your opinion on something you said a number of weeks ago. This was when you came back from that anarchy conference in Mexico.
Yes.
You mentioned about the blue avians and your dislike for them. So
yes.
Before I get into it, I was hoping to just give you some background so you can understand where I'm coming from.
Okay.
Okay. I'm on the boat with you when it comes to the blue avians, as this is just something completely, as I put it, it's just a modern day fantasized, sorry, it's a bit of a tongue twister,
right.
But it's just something made up, like what we see in a high production Hollywood movie. It seems like, actually, I just want to ask real quick, is it all right if I just throw out some names that are attached to this blue avian?
Yeah, sure.
Narrative?
Go right ahead.
Okay. I have listened to a lot when it comes to the blue avians, mainly from David Wilcock and Corey Goode. Those two seem to be the two pushers of this narrative. And mind you, I do respect David Wilcock to a fair bit, just because he totes a lot about, ascension, the higher being, higher self, to where, it's like the last caller was mentioning about karma. Mm-hmm. I could respect him about that, but when it comes to Corey Goode, he's very a suspicious person. He seems to have claimed to gone through this secret space program and then somehow miraculously went back in time to be a younger self, if I understand him correctly, which I think is just completely inane. But
I tend to agree with that general take regarding those individuals. I've checked out a lot of work of David Wilcock, and he has some good material. I think there's a little bit too much open-mindedness to listen to some of the potential experiencers that he talks to, and kind of takes their information at face value instead of really vetting it enough. That's my critique of him. But the whole thing with any savior element of someone coming to do the work for us, coming to rescue us from ourselves or from our own ignorance, I really have to leave at the door. I have to say that's a psyop in and of itself. Anybody telling you that anybody's going to, improve our own spiritual understanding and get us out of the situation that we have worked ourselves into here on this planet is selling a false bill of goods, unfortunately, because they know that that's what a lot of people want to hear. Part of it is many of them are opportunists and sense that if you put a lot of really super positive, good feeling, that makes people energized in a positive way and happy and positive emotional response, that people then want to contribute and donate resources to you. When you say the hard truth to somebody, that to really understand what they're saying, you got to look deep, long, and hard into very uncomfortable places in life. Most people go, screw this guy, screw this woman. I'm not interested in doing that. I want to feel good. I want to be entertained. I don't want to be told that things are really dark and are going in a worse direction by the second. They want to feel good. The truth is not here to make us feel good. The truth is here to make us be free. That is the purpose of discovering the truth. Not to feel good. Discovering the truth should make people feel horrified in the modern world where we are at. Not feel good. Anybody telling you that the discovery of the truth about the human condition should make you feel good is an absolute out of their mind lunatic, but that belongs in a loony bin. Okay? The truth should make you uncomfortable. And it should make you almost depressed unless you build up. You have to build up that spiritual armor against falling into that deep, dark depression. And again, I have to work on that. I'm on the verge of that myself. I'm a human like anybody else. Believe me. I'm very flawed. I have things I got to work on my personality. And I'm telling you, I fall into the same things that other people fall into. And one of them is I get extremely depressed about the state of things, especially where I live. Most people don't live in cities like this that listen to this show. I guarantee you most of my listeners are from more rural areas where they maybe are a little bit more affluent, have time to spend on this, to listen to it, don't have a total, are living in a total inner city environment like what I see around here, living here in the middle of Philadelphia. And I'm telling you, you come into urban centers and see how far gone it is, how far gone the mindset of people is. It's depressing. That makes me depressed. I'm not immune to that. I have to work through that, So it's this whole dynamic of, people in this disclosure movement and ascension movement telling people all these things that they want to hear. You know how much more in donations and sales of their merchandise they bring in, because people love to have smoke blown up their ass. They love to be made all gushy, feely, happy, and that's the role that these people that are opportunists like this often play. And let me tell you something, they're raking it in. And it's not really part of the great work. When are they really talking about ending human slavery and talking about morality and natural law? Where are they talking about that?
The thing, Mark, even when I was doing some research into this Blue Avian, this secret space programs and everything else these two gentlemen talk about, is that when I looked into it, it all seems to stem from the late 1800s, the early 1900s. There's something that I was actually hoping that you could probably speak more depth in about, because you are always on key with the occult, with secret societies, so on and so forth. But something that you even stressed yourself is that us listeners, we have to go back and review your material time again and time again, just to make
go ahead
100%
and
sure.
Hit me with that material, and if I'm familiar with it, I'll elaborate on it and tell you what I think.
So what it is, it's about breakaway societies, and this mainly comes from, again, the late 1800s, early 1900s. thing I've really hit on is I don't know if you know about it, but it's the Sonora Aero Club. This is from the United States, but when I looked into it, they were financed by Prussian industrialists from back in Europe. I believe it's a bit of a tongue twister as well, but NYMZA, NYMZA, it's shorthand name for their national blah blah blah. Sorry, I should have.
It's okay. Good. You can.
But, yeah. Anyways, there were Prussian industrialists in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and of course, as we've seen as time progressed, what happened in Germany, it turned into the National Socialists.
Yes.
The Nazis is better to say, and of course, all we hear these people tout about is the UFO secrets, the flying saucers that the Nazis created and went to Antarctica, all this really fantastical stuff. But even again, when I was doing more and more research into it, I did see that a lot of this connection comes back to where Sumerian legends and the Indian legends about the Vedics and the ninth planet Nibiru,
right,
so on and so forth. I mean, like, as I was doing my research more and more and more, it looks like it just goes back to where this group, the Sonora Aero Club, NYMZA, and these Prussian industrialists, where, at that time, $1 million was a lot of money. So these guys from NYMZA and the Sonora Aero Club, they spent all their money trying to create free energies and these Vimanas, as they like to call them, the flying machines. So when I see this and I think back to where you would always talk about secret societies, but what about the breakaway societies? What about the groups of people that had millions and billions of dollars that have snuck away from mainstream society, have gone, say, to Argentina? We all know now that there's a good chance that Hitler did escape and go to Argentina to live out the rest of his life. So
yeah, there's so many avenues to explore on this. I'll give you my general take, Nick, and I want to thank you for bringing that topic up, because it's a very interesting one and it's a very deep one. It's a deep rabbit hole to go down that does take an enormous amount of research to cover. So regarding the secret society that you're referring to, I have heard of it, but I do not know a lot of details about it. There are many occult orders and secret societies that had to do with the creation of Nazi Germany and the subsequent technological research that they went down, and the subsequent path of the reemergence and rediscovery of occult secrets that came out of the ancient world that the Nazis pursued. I am going to be covering a lot of this in my presentation that I've been talking about for over a year, which is going to be worked up after the Anarchadelphia conference and probably delivered in Philadelphia next year sometime, which is the occult origins of Nazism and communism. And I'm going to have to be doing a lot of research in these fields to put together for this presentation. But the individuals that you want to look up are some of the occultists that led to the creation of the Nazi regime, like Guido von List and Rudolf Glauer and Lance Labenfels, and how they twisted and perverted some of the theosophical philosophy that came before them to come up with their theories on, like, theozoology and the whole race Arianism and Ariosophy theory. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you have to understand that the SS was actually a secret society within the Nazi Party, the NSDAP, the National Socialist German Workers' Party. And inside the SS was another secret society headed by Himmler, okay, that was referred to as Die Schwarze Sun, or the Black Sun. Now, within the Black Sun, you had a technocrat named Hans Kammler. Hans Kammler was the chief occult technologist of the Third Reich. And people don't even know about this guy, okay? He definitely escaped war crimes tribunals, disappeared into into the mist, probably ended up in Argentina. The amount of wealth that the Nazis took from Europe absolutely came back into other countries and ended up in, military budgets, the military-industrial complex operations and intelligence societies within other nations, and slowly spread. Their ideology slowly spread. I mean, you could essentially call the East Coast the Nazi coast and the West Coast the commie coast. That's basically how it operates in the United States. People don't understand how these religions, that's what they are. And it's ultimately one religion. See, people may have listened to Nick's call here and say, what does this have to do with Satanism? The answer is absolutely everything. You might have thought I was going to say absolutely nothing. Wrong. It has absolutely everything to do with Satanism, because that's what we're talking about here. It's a breakaway civilization within humanity that stems out of the ancient world and the rediscovery of technologies that came from the ancient world. And again, this goes back into what I refer to as the interference theory of human origins, not the intervention theory. That's what a lot of ancient alien hypothesizers refer to it. It's a intervention theory. That makes it sound like you're trying to get somebody off of drugs, bad drugs, that are messing up their lives. We're going to have an intervention. It's for your own good, That's not what this was, folks. This is direct interference in the natural progression of the evolution of a species. That's what happened here on this planet. That's why we're so messed up. That's the only thing that can really explain why humanity is as messed up as it is. This isn't just a slow fall out of ancient knowledge that humans had and held so close at some point in the ancient past. It's not just a slow devolving like that many people insist that it is. This is something that is absolutely operating in the non-human realm, in the realm of non-human intelligence, But we have to be discerning about it and understand the difference between the real aspects of that versus conjecture and speculation and things that people want to just make a lot of money off of. I'm not here telling you, we need to look into non-human intelligence because some aliens are sitting out in orbit and are ready to come here and save us from ourselves. Only people who want to believe who have a savior complex and want to believe that we don't have to do this work for ourselves want to believe that stuff. And that makes them all gushy inside and go, oh, wow, this is in hand. Somebody else has this. They got this, I'm here telling you all of the work has to be done by us, and all this knowledge has to be taken in for us in order to do the work. I still hear people say, Mark, isn't there shortcuts to this? Isn't there a roundabout way of getting there? You expect me to read all that you've read? You expect me to listen to all that you've listened to? You expect me to watch all that you've watched? Yes! Yes! I do expect that. If you're going to become enlightened, enlightenment happens through knowledge. Enlightenment isn't just a, airy-fairy, magical, flowery, spiritual process in the ethers. That's not what enlightenment means, folks. Enlightenment happens through knowledge of self and knowledge of our world that we live in. Most people aren't ready to handle the truth about either one of those dynamics. They don't want to hear the truth about themselves, and they certainly don't want to hear the horror of what our world has become or how it got that way. And like I said, I've only ever been censored or attempted to be censored on what on earth is happening, poorly at that, by talking about where institutional origins came from, where the origins of institutional bodies that have grown to be the institutions that they are today came from in the ancient world. That's the only time anybody ever hit me with a computer attack. Okay? And when I said, look, they're trying to block me and knock me off the air, they're trying to make the show disjointed so people won't listen to what I'm saying. And what it's doing is exactly what I did earlier with posting the stuff on the Church of Satan by showing you that it exactly corroborates what I've said, because I know what I'm talking about. I have researched so much of this. Again, I may let a caller talk and I may get up and go get all my disc bags in the other room today and show you how much I've studied and taken in. Right on air here today. I think I'm going to do it. Okay? So, you know, this is the point. People don't understand how much research and data this takes to take in. You have to be a hermit and almost be obsessed, rabidly obsessed with taking in knowledge about our world and the occult. And that's the problem. Yeah, I'll have my producer do it. Take every one of those black bags in here, all of them. I'll show you what I've amassed over the years. And you try to even wrap your mind around it, get an idea of it. We're going to stack them up on this table right here, and I'm going to show you. Okay? Instead of doing it another week, we're going to do it right now. Okay? So, going back to Nick's call, the Breakaway Civilization is real. And you know what it's called? The Dark Occultists of the world. Because we are living, folks, we're not living in a matriarchy or a patriarchy. We're not living in an oligarchy. Okay? We're not living in any kind of a political hierarchy. We are living in a technocratic occultocracy. A technocratic occultocracy. We are ruled by techno-sorcerers. Let me just say that again so it sinks in. We are ruled by techno-sorcerers. Here's some. This is only some. Okay? Turn the camera toward this. Yeah, there we go. Here's only some. I'm going to start showing you. Okay? Let's pull these apart right now before we even continue with callers. Okay? Here, stack them up. Stack them up. Every one of these is full. These are bags of discs. Here, switch to the other camera, the forward camera. Okay? Here's bags of discs. Okay? All of these documentary films, every one of them, over 200 and some odd films in each bag. Okay? And these are just single discs. Okay? On and on and on. That's one bag. Okay? Here, grab another one. Every one of them. Okay? That one's only half full because I'm still filling it. Here's one that's full. Here's some audio. These are all MP3 files on DVDs and Blu-ray discs backed up. Think about how many MP3 files you have to gather to fill up one Blu-ray disc, or even a full DVD. It's considerable. Okay? On and on it goes, over and over. Okay? All MP3 files, the whole fucking bag. Okay? And then it goes on and on and on. Okay? That's how much data I've amassed. That's how much of a hermit I lived as for a decade of my life, doing nothing but absorbing. And that's like only a tiny portion of it because I have more backed up on hard drives. It's like way over like 25, 30 terabytes of data. You know? And that's what it will take to really become enlightened. You know, and then people want to say they have studied and know the same amount that I've taken in, and this isn't a pissing contest, folks. I'm just being honest with you. I'm just telling you what I did with my life. It's almost sick. It's almost superhuman. That's how much I cared about it, though. And there's a reason, because I got involved. I got involved to a point where I said, I need to fully understand what I just became involved with in the form of Satanism and dark occultism. And to understand the little peek that I got behind the corridors of power to the psychopaths really running this planet. And yes, indeed, they are a breakaway civilization, and they are technocratic sorcerers. They are a technocratic occultocracy. We are ruled by techno-occult sorcerers. You can believe that or not, but nothing will make it untrue. You know? And this is the problem, folks. The people don't have that grasp of reality because they haven't looked deeply enough into all the data that they need to look into. It's out there, folks. It isn't really covered up. It isn't truly occulted. People are just dissuaded from looking into it, and they stop in the pursuit of that knowledge when they think they figured it out. And they figured their ball bag out. That's what they figured out. You figured out nothing because you haven't gone far enough in knowledge. Again, you know, drink deeply or taste not the Pierian spring. You know, people think they go into a little bit of research, listen to a few podcasts, and they have it all figured out. Most of them don't know their ass from their elbow. So, Nick, thank you for bringing that up. I hope that gives you my general take on it. I know, I didn't go very in-depth on that, but the breakaway civilization aspect of what some of the researchers that you referred to talking about is accurate. Regarding their savior aspects of it, I wouldn't place too much faith in that. I would take it with a heavy dosage of salt, and I would not really. I don't really think it holds much water as far as I'm concerned. Okay, to use some typical phrases, but it's done because many people want popularity instead of telling harsh, uncomfortable truths. I've never been looking for popularity. I'm looking for people who understand the causal factors of what's happening here that has put human beings into the state of slavery, which we are in, and who have the thick skin and the will to move forward in knowledge and become teachers of natural law, and because I understand that is the only way to get out of this state of slavery, is to help increase moral behavior, which will increase freedom, and decrease immoral behavior, which will decrease tyranny and slavery. If we haven't understood that from this point in what on earth is happening yet, something's seriously wrong. Okay, so Nick, thank you for that call. Very interesting. Let's go to our next caller. Let's hear from Essence of Anarchony. You are live on What on Earth is Happening, 216. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, Mark.
Without a doubt.
All right, I got a couple questions and then a ritual that I've noticed that I don't think you touched upon in the past couple weeks. So the first one was, the other day you mentioned looking into the Whitehall Church of Satan to find some material about the, I guess you could say, dark alchemical wedding.
Yep.
I was looking and I couldn't really find anything. Do you have any titles or authors?
Yes, it's harder to find. I cannot think of them right off the top of my head. I would have to go into the ARC or some of my archives. I have some of their original paper documents that are not even like actual bound, hardbound books, or even like paperback bound books. They're like binder bound. Like I have stuff like that came out of their organization back in the 1990s and into the early 2000s. And they're very, very, very rare. So, but I can tell you one of the things that they always talked about and put out a lot of, written material on, and that was androgenizing society. And this is an aspect of the satanification of our culture that I did not really get into. So I want to, right off the bat, thank you for bringing up the Whitehall Church of Satan that's out of Whitehall, Pennsylvania. And reminding me that this is an aspect that I really didn't get into. We can connect this all with the unholy feminine presentation. I mentioned it last week, the satanic Epi-Eugenics agenda, okay? This is part of the whole satanification of our society, is masculizing women and feminizing men. And again, this is no sexist statement here. This is talking about what they are doing to human beings, how they are manipulating human beings at a hormonal level, at the physical level, and how they are then epigenetically manipulating human beings at the epigenetic Epi-Eugenics. Or if we're really being honest with ourselves, we should call this epidysgenics. This is satanic dysgenics, because what they are doing is they are setting the sexes against each other. They are destroying human sexuality, which is extremely important for cohesive bonds between men and women in our society, and that's absolutely in the shitter in today's world. And they are androgenizing both sexes by diminishing sex drive, by taking women and putting more of a masculine aspect and quality into their genetics and personality chemically, and they are feminizing men in the same way, because they know the more they can break down social cohesion between men and women, the more they have society on lock, the more they can control people's behavior, They can control their mindset and their behavior. They know this. They've studied this for thousands of years. They know exactly what they're doing. They talked about it very openly, talk about it openly in their documents. I don't know. Maybe if my producer wants to go downstairs in my small, shelf library that I have down in my living room, try to find it, or ask Leah to find the books from the Whitehall Church of Satan. There's a couple of them down there. One of them is orange. It's bound. It's a black bound orange book, and then there's a red one. If you can find them, bring them up. I mean, we'll do this on the fly, folks. Hey, it's a live show. Anything can happen today. Let's just do some, off the cuff, spontaneous shit today. Okay, so let's see if he can find them, and he's going to come back up. I don't know if they're even here, but we'll see. Because a lot of my books are still back at Barb's house, because when Barb and I were together, I basically kept my library there because I don't have the space to keep all the books here, and I don't want to put them in boxes. So they're on shelves at Barb's house, and she is, keeping them in trust for me, which is fine. She does a good job doing that. But I don't have most of my library present right here, right now, where I live. But I think I might have those books here, because I think I may have recently lent them to a good friend, and I think he just gave them back to me. So I think they're here, but I'm not positive. So we'll see. But anyway, that's what people have to do. You got to hunt down material like this, and guess what? They're making it harder to do, my friend. The censorship's making it harder to do. That's why sites like Conspiracy Central, consen.org.
Oh yeah, I've got a few things off there since you mentioned it.
People got to know how to use BitTorrent. You got to do an end run around these technocrats, because they're changing the algorithms. They're making searches harder to come by to find material. If it's not in their whole narrative, they don't want you searching and finding it. You got to get off the traditional search engines like Google and Yahoo and all that. You got to get on alternative search engines. Use DuckDuckGo or at least something that doesn't track you, like Start Page or something. There's not many really great ones, but there's some out there that are at least alternatives to the type of tracking and censorship that Google is doing. And, some people still use Google, but, they're really making a headway to try to pull this material. Like, you look on YouTube, certain searches, they will give you no related videos anymore related to it. They pull the related searches, and you get one video on it, then you got to do a new search to get another. If you don't know the name or the researcher specifically or the title specifically, they're not going to make it available in the related searches. That's how they're modifying these algorithms, and that's how they're censoring this data. So get on sites like consen.org, CONCEN.org, conspiracycentral.org. I mean, it's it's, and learn how to use BitTorrent. Learn how to use BitTorrent, folks. It's the one thing they really can't censor. That's the same technology that Bitcoin is based on. That's why it's called Bitcoin. It's based on the BitTorrent underlying technology, and people have to learn about it and start utilizing it. They can't really censor that. It's practically uncensorable. So that's one way to go. But you can continue. I think my producer's still down there looking for them. If he finds them, I'll put them on the air.
Okay, yeah. I did find that Satanic Witch, and that seemed like it was going to talk about that sort of thing, but I was going to finish up the Chemical Wedding at Christian Rosenkreutz. I'm doing that one right now.
Yeah, that's a good alchemical tome. So, and that's higher level occultism.
It seems pretty good.
Yeah, that's light occultism for sure. That's also material people should delve into. Don't just look at the dark side of this, folks. There's an opposite side of all of this. The occult is not just satanic and evil and bad. We have to keep that in mind. There's a flip side to this where there's powerful, true spiritual teachings contained in light occult works. And they've been perverted and turned, to this dark aspect. That's all this satanic element can do. It can't create. It doesn't create. All it does is take something that's already been created that is there for human benefit, and it twists it, it distorts it, it perverts it, and it inverts it. That's their only dynamic that they can do. They can't really create anything of their own that stands for all time and really goes off into the future and creates a legacy. All they can do is twist and pervert what's already there toward their ends and aims. That's it, and their agendas. Yeah, those aren't it. No, no. So look underneath the end table where the light, the lamp is at. I think they might be under there. Underneath the end table, they are binders. They have a black plastic binding that looks like when if you go to Staples and you bind something, they have that. And they're short. Look, they're like this tall. They're not big books like that. They're short. Okay. So if you can find them, bring them up. Okay. So continue. Anything else you want to?
A couple things.
Sure.
When they approached you to join the Church of Satan, after they initiated you as a priest, did they give you any kind of priest school or training, or did they just assume that you knew enough to fulfill their agenda?
They do very extensive psychological profiling in their joining process. I've been through this in the presentation called Demystifying the Occult Part 2, Satanism and the Dark Occult, where they actually make you write essay-long answers to questions that are deep, probing psychological questions about your background and your mentality and your psychological makeup and your personality characteristics and preferences. And in doing that, they really have a whole psychological profile on you as an individual. In addition to that, I put out a lot of writings through fanzines. Yeah. And there were little small works that people would put out through the music community that you'd get in like corner stores or record stores back in the day. They were called fanzines. Just look them up. You'll see scans of them and pictures of them. And I wrote for a lot of fanzines that dealt with the occult and death metal and black metal and things like that. And I wrote articles on Satanism in a lot of these. And my work as an author in some of these was noted and noticed by Anton LaVey. That's how he sort of, I guess, vetted me, that I knew what I was talking about regarding the satanic ideology. And he wanted me to head a grotto in the Philadelphia area. That's what they call their covens. And he put out on the table, through personal correspondence with me, the offer to head a grotto in Philadelphia, which I subsequently declined. So we can't find those. I'll have to go look for them myself and maybe either, scan them and post them, or see if I can find them. But they're difficult. They're difficult to find. They may not be scanned digitally online, the work from the Whitehall Church of Satan. You'll probably only find some mentions of that organization because they don't have a big internet presence, to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah, I was having a hard time even finding reference to the thing.
Right. You might be able to find. Let's see. Let me do it live with you right in real time here. Let's cut over to my web browser and I'll try to search. The person's name who ran it was Jay Solomon, but he reversed the letters of his name and he went by, Yaj Nomalos. So Y-A-J, which is J backwards, and Nomalos, which was Solomon backwards. And let's just search for a PDF on that. So... Yep, so here's one, Satanic Rites and Ceremonies by, this is the book that I own right here, and this is what we were looking for. It's called Satanic Rites and Ceremonies by Reverend Yaj Nomalos.
Okay.
It was up on eBay, someone was selling a copy, and it's not there. So, let's see if this links to a PDF. No, that links to eBay. See, someone was selling this. Let me make this bigger so I could show you the graphic here. I don't know if you can, you're on Discord, so you may not be able to see that, but that's one of the books that we're talking about, and it was from lefthandpathbooks.com. I'm not familiar with that, and all the links are taking you to an eBay site, which was obviously an item that people were selling. But yeah, this is it. His shop in a tiny basement in Allentown. Allentown is just outside of Whitehall. So, he had a little shop there. I went to it many, many times. There he is right there. That was the head of the Whitehall Church of Satan, Jay Solomon.
All right.
So, there is some stuff out there. It can be hard to find. You have to know what to search for. You have to know the actual terms to put in. So, obviously this was a copy of that. You're seeing what I was talking about. It was a short red book with a reddish orange cover with a black binding in plastic. This is the type of just underground material that they put out about, their take on Satanism. And it's slightly different than the Church of Satan's take because this is, it's a different faction or sect. And they really pushed androgyny heavily in this particular group. And it's probably came down from higher ups, because this is what the globalists are trying to do. This is what the social engineers of our society have been at work for decades now. And you just walk, I say this all the time. I walk out my door and see this. I don't know what other people see when they go out and they're, I think most people live in like more isolated rural communities where they don't have a lot of neighbors. They have a lot of space. They have garages that they drive their cars back to at night. I come back from a grueling day doing work someplace. I try to park my car. I got to drive around my neighborhood for like 35, 40 minutes to find a damn parking spot. That's how compact everything is here in Philadelphia. And we live on top of each other. It's like caged animals living on top of each other. You can't park your car. I walk 6-7 blocks to get back to my house when I park my car someplace. That's how, at a premium, just a regular parking spot every day is in this neighborhood. That's how, dense the population has become in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I lived in a city for a few months many years ago, and I don't think I'd like to do it again.
It's really shit. It's really shit. Especially here. I mean, I want to try. I'd say I have a love-hate relationship with Philadelphia, but honestly, it's mostly a hate relationship. It's really degraded. I would give anything for it to go back the way it used to be back in the 80s and even early 90s, because it was a much better city to live in. And now it's a communist town. The communists have taken this place. Communism. Outright communism. Okay? It's entrenched in the whole government of this city. It's entrenched in the whole culture of this city. It's people with their heads jammed so far up their assholes they're never going to get them out. It's bad. It's really, really bad. Worse than whatever people are thinking who aren't from here. It's worse than what you think. Okay? I'm not even doing it justice. Okay? And, this is part of what drove it. Switch back to the computer. Like organizations like this is the kind of stuff that drove it. These people know what they're doing. They're social engineers, folks. They know what they're doing. These people are working, maybe not exactly this organization. I'm talking about Satanism in general. They're working with social engineers, intelligence societies, think tanks. They are pushing society toward their ends, toward their agendas, toward their goals, without people knowing. There are people who are involved that'll say, no, that's not what's happening. And they themselves don't know they're being used as useful fucking fools and dupes that are acting on instructions that have come down from on high, from a high-level dark occult sorcerers and technocrats and social engineers and think tanks that they've never heard of. This isn't something that it just goes like, I'm going to tell you to do it, then you're going to do it, you're going to pass on the order. It doesn't work like that, folks. This is mental and psychological and spiritual manipulation of the highest order. This is mind control dynamics, mind control dialectics, social engineering, subtle mental influence through media that's put out, that spreads like a plague, like a virus. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, and that's the best way to do it, because people aren't going to realize it unless they're aware, which most people aren't.
Covert control is always going to be much more effective than overt control. Overt control, what are you going to do? You're going to say, listen, I'm the master of the world, and I want to rule everybody, and I want to make them my slaves. I'm going to subjugate them as my slaves. You going to get on board with that agenda and help me do it? And what do you think? People are going to go, yeah, sure, let's go. Let's enslave everyone, including me, as your dumb dupe. That's not how it works, ladies and gentlemen. That's not how Satanism works. The idea, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was to make people believe he didn't exist. These people want to remain hidden, occulted, in the shadows. They don't want you understanding their agenda. They don't want you understanding their methodologies, their goals, the ways that they work. They want to do subtle occulted influence in society, and they're very effective at it. They know what they're doing because they are ancient psychological masters at work. that have the knowledge of all of the ancient mystery traditions in hand, and they know that the dumb bag of shit public knows nothing, knows less than nothing, believes that they know what any of this stuff is, believes that they know what's going on, has an erroneous belief about it, and is ego attached to that erroneous belief. Negative knowledge. And they know that that's exactly where they got people, and they got them by the balls. They got this society by the balls. And look, I am not trying to tell people that Essence of Anarchy, our caller and viewers, to discourage you and make you depressed. I have to say the way that it is. I can't lie to my viewing audience and tell you this is all turning around. Trump's got this. The Blue Avians got this. You know, the Arcturians are on their way. I can't lie to you about it. I can't say everybody's getting it. They get what real anarchy is. They get what real Satanism is. They know that the problem is moral relativism and believing rights come from human beings. We don't get it. Most people don't get it. In the documentary we're putting together, we're going to show you how people are dumb bags of shit on the street. Total bags of dumb dog shit for a brain. I'm sorry, I have to say it that way to my viewing audience. I have to. I would feel like I am doing people a tremendous spiritual disservice not to just come out and say it that way. I feel like I did do a tremendous spiritual disservice for many years by, in my opinion, sugarcoating it. Other people still can't even handle my sugar-coated version of my delivery, which I gave for many years leading up to this current format, which I can't do it anymore. I can't. As I've gotten older, I've gotten less tolerant to ignorance, and I think we all should be at that level of no tolerance for ignorance, because ignorance is evil, and we shouldn't have tolerance for evil. And I'm done letting people who are ignorant, pablum spouting nonsense, just drooling nonsense out of their mouth every time they open their mouth, go unchallenged. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm going to say in plain street language what I think of people who are that ignorant, because they're killing the rest of us. See, their ignorance is our enslavement. That's what our viewing audience must realize. Your average brother and sister on this planet, that's your average dumb human being, their ignorance is your enslavement and my enslavement. And if we allow that ignorance to just go unchallenged and say, I don't give a shit what they think or believe, and you don't answer and confront and say, you are incorrect, that is wrong. It is immutably true that that is incorrect, and you have a false belief about that. That is not how it works. And I am not going to let you egoically just spout that out to other people in my presence unchallenged. See, people don't want to be confrontative, and what they do is they go, I don't want to start an issue. I'm just going to let that go. I'm not going to say anything. And that's what we do over and over again in society, because we don't have the courage to say to another human being, you don't know what you're talking about and you're wrong. Because we know that could potentially lead to confrontation physically, possibly. Not just verbally, but it might get physical. Okay?
Well, and really, that's the best part, or the best time to do the great work, it seems like. Because then you're hitting people that have never even heard of this sort of thing before, as opposed to people that are seeking it out.
That's right. That's right. I'm not backing down. I don't care if someone wants to try to take a shot at me. Go, do your best. Good luck. Good luck, because guess what? You'll be answered with a 45 ACP. You know, after I'm done using my hands. Okay? Like, I'm not taking your bullshit unchallenged physically. And I'm not going to take it verbally either. I'm going to say what I know, you know, and I don't care what people think. So this is the problem, is we let people get away with ignorance without answering it, with knowledge, with truth. And then truth becomes watered down and diminished over the years, over the decades, over the centuries. And we end up where we're at now, in a total slavery situation that's probably going to require a physical rebellion to even possibly have a chance to solve it, more likely than not, which is going to have to come from America, because the rest of the damn world has been deballed. You know, they've been defanged and deballed by having their rights taken away from them in the form of self-defensive arms. You know, so it's going to fall in our lap, and we're going to have to do it for other people. You want to look,
Right.
folks, you want to look to a savior. The only possible savior of humanity right now is America, as sad as that sounds. Because guess what? If it goes hot and becomes physical, we're going to be the only ones that can get the job done. Nobody else is coming to help us. You know, not one other person's coming to help. Not one other nation's going to come to help. You know, so all the shit other nations want to say about America, this is still the most conscious nation in the world, and it's still the most armed. Okay? And that's a sad, sad truth to have to speak, to have to verbalize or aloud. You know, when you see where the consciousness of other places is at, because they don't even understand the self-defense principle. Okay? And they're still totally ensconced in socialism and outright communism throughout the rest of the world. If there's going to be any savior of humanity, it's going to be the people of America rising up. And the rest of the world's like sitting on their fucking hands waiting for that to happen. You know? And then this is what I'm trying to foment. You know? Straight up. I want to do it through consciousness, folks. But guess what? If it can't get done through consciousness, let it be done by any means necessary. So.
Well, and for my last point, if I may.
Sure.
The satanic ritual that I'd noticed really relates into all the stuff you just said. I mean, in the media, you see so many satanic rituals, from the news to sports, you know, the divide and conquer. But one of the biggest ones, it seems like lately, is the reality TV. And you hear people a lot saying, oh, reality TV is not based in reality, but that doesn't even seem like the point of reality TV. They're trying to use this as a satanic ritual to summon the reality that the, I guess, de-Illuminati, if you want to call them that, are trying to turn the world into. Just a world full of idiots that are only concerned with hedonism. And if you look at one of the first reality TV shows was Cops. So you're supposed to watch these cops just trample all over everyone's right for things like putting substances in their own body and not even hurt anybody. And
Right.
You're supposed to cheer, oh yeah, tackle that guy, tase him. So reality TV, that seems to me a big,
without a doubt.
satanic ritual.
I mean, that's something I didn't get to. I really appreciate you bringing that up as a point. You know, I could have talked a lot about the overt satanic rituals that take place in sporting events that they trot out in front of people, or at music award shows or Hollywood award shows. They do rituals right there out in the open that are somewhat subtle, that you have to read into a little bit, but they're rituals nonetheless. Can you cut back over to the computer real quick? I want to just let Essence of Anarchy know. I did find it's a site called the Hermetic Library blog. You can check that out. There's another book here from the Whitehall Church of Satan that's called The Magic Circle, Its Successful Organization and Leadership by Yaj Nomalos. And this is about how to organize the Satanic Grotto as he sees it. So they put out field manuals on this stuff. You know, it's all out there, folks. They're all too happy. They're recruiting people like this. They're all too happy to tell you how they work. You know, because there's two fields of thought. There's two schools of thought when it comes to how the Satanists and dark occultists and high-level Luciferians, dark Luciferians, really want to operate in the world. And the television series Allegory that paralleled these two schools of thought was True Blood. As hokey and, like, you know, B-TV series-ish as it was, I highly recommend people to watch the series True Blood, okay, which was about vampires, because it is talking about the satanic hierarchy in the world. You have to replace vampires with the modern ruling satanic ruling class, okay? And the discussion and subsequent war that breaks out between the vampire factions is between those who want to stay covert and rule humanity and feed upon humanity from the shadows goes to war with who they call the mainstreaming vampires, the mainstreamers, as they call them, that wanted what is called in the occult world the externalization of the hierarchy of Satanism in the world, of the rulership of human beings. They want that taken out of the shadows, and they want the agenda manipulated and brought forward at such a pace that they can openly say, we are your kings, we are your masters, like they did in the ancient world. They wanted to go back to neo-feudalism. They wanted to go back to a feudal society where the king is the unquestioned ruler and everybody knows that's the king. He is the dictator who rules over all of us, like they've done in North Korea. That's the building block. That's the template, okay? That's the template for the rest of the world, is North Korea, where a god king rules their society and dictates every element of life, and if you disobey, you die. Their henchmen just kill you, okay? If you do what the God King doesn't want you to do. And just look at that. Just study that. Study North Korea. Just look at the kind of sick religious shit that is their government. That's what they want to bring here. That's the New World Order, folks. That's the Dark New World Order. Believe it. Know it. And the Satanists who really are trying to bring that forward, the dark occultists, they want what Alice Bailey and the Theosophical Order referred to as the externalization of the hierarchy. Read about that term, okay? And that's what they're doing. This is a process that started, over a century ago, and they're moving, I'd say a couple of centuries ago, and they're now moving at a breakneck pace toward it. And people are still asleep at the switch and can't see it. Unfortunately, this material is out there. Okay. I will try look, I'm getting ready at some point to start really digitizing some stuff that I know isn't out there. And believe me, there's a lot that I know is not digitized that needs to be digitized. Rare stuff. Okay. I mean, rare stuff on how intelligence works, rare stuff on how the occult works, rare stuff on how organized crime is connected in with this. Like, there's a lot of books in the pipeline that I want to scan, I want to digitize. I bought a document scanner. Actually, it was a donation to What on Earth is Happening. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who has technologically donated through the Amazon wish list. That's like one of the best ways anybody can make a donation. Okay? Thank you to everybody who's donated to this effort in whatever way that you have, but particularly the technological donations help a lot. Okay. And somebody got a document scanner for us, and it's a fast Epson document scanner. It's badass. Okay. And this can scan a whole book in like a few minutes, and then I can run it through a optical character recognition software, make it an EPUB or high quality PDF. So I really want to do it with stuff like this. I have to go through my library and pull some stuff for digitization that I know has not been digitized. So, Essence of Anarchy, thank you so much for the call. Fantastic.
Yeah, thanks.
Points.
I'll check into those resources.
You got it.
And I just got my Anarchadelphia ticket, so
Fantastic.
Hope to see you there.
I'd love to meet you there in person. And listen, if you do find any of these resources that you're talking about online, upload them to Conspiracy Central. Just seed that torrent for a little while. Get it out there. That's one of the best ways you can share rare information like this. And it is quite rare. So, great call. Thank you.
All right. Talk to you later.
You got it. All right. Let's go to Shaun McCann. Shaun, you're live on What on Earth is Happening. Welcome, my friend.
Hi there, Mark. I wanted to bring up something that definitely belongs in this list that you've done in the last 2 episodes.
Go right ahead.
I'd like to say circumcision.
There's a big one. There's a big one that I missed. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. It is an ancient trauma-based mind control ritual designed to harm the child and to literally manufacture a slave-like, highly aggressive order follower.
Without a doubt. That's exactly what it is, folks. This is traumatization, satanic traumatization of the young as soon as they come into the world. That's exactly what it is.
Right, and the bond between mother and child gets broken.
That's right.
Because the mother neglects her duty to protect the child, and gives him away to the dark occultists.
You got it.
Just like the ancient, the sacrifice to Moloch, the parents would willingly give their children to be sacrificed
to the Carthaginian high priest Satanists of that culture, and they'd put them in the huge burners, and that would be that's what the whole concept of what was that movie that came out about the what's his name, Nicolas Cage, I think, was in it. I'll think of it.
Was it recent? Was it that Mandy?
There's two versions of it. There's a modern version. They put him in this big, you know what I'm talking about?
Bad Lieutenant?
No. It's
Nicolas
like
Cage was the new Bad Lieutenant.
It might not be Cage. I think it might be. I'm not really sure, but basically it's kind of a satanic society, and he ends up being ritually sacrificed in this.
Wicker Man.
Wicker Man. There's two versions of it. Oh, that's what it's about. That's what this is about.
Exactly. Like he willingly gave himself. You know what I mean? He volunteered to be their sacrifice.
Right.
And if you look into the psychological effects of circumcision, like the actual nuts and bolts of it, it causes intimacy issues.
That's right.
It spikes cortisol. It causes it's an attack on the synapse point between man and woman. The actual point of contact between the male and the feminine
is diminished.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's attacked, and that's where creation is. That's the combination of man and female, and that is basically severed. How deep can you get with that?
They know what they are doing at all levels. This is what I've been trying to explain to people for decades. They know what they are doing. They know everything there is to know about us. They know how we work physically. They know how we work emotionally. They know how we work mentally. And they know how to diminish all of those aspects of the individual. And they're doing it. They don't talk about it. These people are not talkers. They're not visualizers and talkers and be like, oh, we're going to get to doing that. They lay out a plan. They work together as one mind. They call it a mastermind. All getting on the same page. What are we doing? Are we all on the same page? There's the freedom movement, the anarchy movement. Does it constitute a mastermind, or is it all over the fucking place and scattered in a million different directions and anything but unified? You know what? Our rulers aren't like that. They're very unified and on one accord in what they are doing in their agenda. They might have some skirmishes here and there when it gets to really big levels of power. But let me tell you something. At the societal level, the interfaces with the rest of the slaves, these people are all on the same page and they know exactly what they're doing.
Right. Yeah, and they infect our minds so that we can't not even the family can be on the same page. Right. You know what I mean? The woman might want to save her child from that abuse, and the father says, "No, I want it done because I want him to look like me." And it's as if the father he doesn't want to look at the trauma that he endured, and as a protection for his own sanity, he's going to give his son the same torture so that he doesn't have to look at the fact that he was tortured himself. It's diabolical.
Just think about how many ways we're offering up our own children to this whole satanic medical system because of the beliefs that are entrenched in our culture. Through circumcision, through vaccination, then through the diet the children are given and fed that totally destroys their brain.
Similac. They tell mothers not to breastfeed, and they try to give them Similac instead. It's soy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's disgusting.
Well, that's a fantastic point that I very much had an oversight to leave out there. I really should have put that in the formal presentation, but I want to thank you for bringing it up. And I just want to say that you seem very well researched in this topic. Maybe you should do a presentation, a formal presentation on it, and deliver that either, through YouTube. If you ever need help with presentation software, just tips on it, I'd be happy to just show you some basics of that, and you could pick up the ball
Mark,
and run with it. You know what I mean?
I would love that.
If people are at that level of, that's why I need to put a seminar together about this. We need a technological seminar, okay? You know, there are people who know way more about, like, you know, web technologies and programming than I ever will, okay? But I know the basics enough to get things out there. And you got to know your basics of presentation software, of graphics programs, you know, graphics manipulation, audio editing, video editing. And then when you know those basics, right, you could put all that together. You can get a nice polished presentation out there with good quality information, because you know your stuff. It's not a matter of you not knowing your stuff. It's a matter of you got to get some technological background under your belt, and then you'll be able to put this stuff out there yourself. So that's why we got to do a how to become the new media by learning basic technologies seminar, you know, and get a lot of people on board. You know,
I mean, if I could be there in person, I don't know, but I mean, are you going to put it online, or are you going to like?
I might do it like a webinar session. I've kicked around the idea of just doing it for donations for free here in my home. Just bringing a few people over every week that can at least travel here, once a week, and doing like a 4 or 5 hour teaching session, an interactive teaching session right here in my home.
That'd be great.
I have to work something up, because the need for it is so great, and yet the implementation of it in our society is negligible. Like, we really need to move further toward understanding how to use the tools that are out there for us to use. And very little people are using them. What they're doing is they're continuing to argue on Facebook, which is not going to change people's minds. And it's not a forum for accurate, deep learning. Going to a site,
they won't learn. They refuse to.
Yeah, there were these things in the past, folks. Believe it or not, I know you may not believe that this is true, but you know what? In the not too distant past, there was these things called websites. Yeah, individuals made these things. They made their own places on the internet where they published their content for people's consideration. That's like called exercising your First Amendment right of freedom of speech, which is a natural right that's supposed to be protected by the First Amendment, okay? Guaranteed not to be infringed upon, even though it is in our modern world. But believe it or not, you had these things called websites out there that were little nodes or little personal home sites for people on the net where they could put their own material. Not owned by some big mega corporate conglomerate called Facebook or Google or Apple, where if they disagree with one thing you say, goodbye to your post. That's not your place. You think your Facebook page is your place online on the internet? People don't have a presence online. You have to have a place where a rolling Rolodex of sort, or a blog of your content that you have created is available for all time. You know?
I'm building my library.
If they took my YouTube channel down, my podcast would still be up, because it's my own site, and every actual podcast in the XML feed that I publish weekly is on my own website. So even if every single thing, now the videos would have to be uploaded elsewhere,
server.
But every podcast would still be up. They'd have to come after the actual domain, which is, it's going to be a much harder job than just saying, "Oh, we don't like what you did on YouTube. We're banning your
because
channel."
they don't own the domain. You own the domain.
Right. So, this is what I just encourage people to do. You have to learn how to get a domain, to get web hosting, to put your own site up. We need way more independent voices in that regard, and people making good, high quality presentations with good material like this. And I'm telling you, man, I can tell you would do it well. You just got to step into that realm, okay?
I will. I plan on it. I'm working on my I have a number of podcasts under my belt that I've done with others.
Cool. Awesome.
And, I'm scheduled next year in May to be at the Seed 4 event here in Ohio.
I may look into the potential of possibly being a part of that if Brandon wants that. it's something that we have to discuss and see, what's going to happen regarding that, because I've seen that has been announced, and I really think that the work that those gentlemen at Skatopia have done is very impressive. So
I agree.
If they perhaps want me to be a part of that, I may, take them up on that offer. We've kicked around the idea a little bit, and maybe we'll make it happen.
Well, I'd love for you to join me there. That's great. I plan on giving a talk about Lolita and Eyes Wide Shut, and how it's about trauma-based mind control and monarch programming.
Fantastic. That's another thing I have to expound upon that I haven't really gotten to yet, is Pizzagate. I need to just go really deep into that stuff, because I could explain it from a perspective that a lot of people don't have, having not been involved directly with these psychopaths. And
right.
That's what people have to understand. Like, this whole thing with Epstein, this is not unexpected to me. I'm sitting back going, it's about time,
Yeah,
like,
really.
I've been waiting for this for like over a decade or more. I've been talking about this for over a decade,
Yeah.
Like, people are going, oh, this is so shocking. I'm like, I hear this stuff and go, yeah, and like, it goes way beyond this. This is scratching the tiniest of the surface
Right.
of what really goes on. He's like one of their mid-range puppets being thrown under the bus. You have no idea how high this goes.
Exactly.
This goes up to the highest corridors of government and beyond. This goes up
Right.
into the
It seems
religious sector, and people have to understand this is what the occult is, and this is how this is their monetary system. Their monetary system is the trafficking of small children.
Slavery. Yeah. Direct slavery. It's disgusting. And Kubrick knew about it. He tried to show us in an esoteric way.
That's right.
And I want to reveal that. And I've got a whole lot of information. I've been really digging in tough.
The movie Eyes Wide Shut is a book in and of itself.
Yes. Yes.
He was brilliant,
and
man. He was an
everything.
alchemical filmmaker.
Right.
This guy did alchemy with his film production. It's amazing.
I agree.
Yeah. I know
and
Jay Widener's work on it. Jay Widener has
do.
done fantastic work regarding the films of Stanley Kubrick. I highly suggest people check all that work out.
I agree. Yeah, Jay Widener has some of his theories are like pretty tough to swallow, but once you see the film and you know what I mean, you listen to where he's like the points that he's talking about, it makes plausible sense. A lot of it, like the moon landing things that Kubrick's Odyssey, the film that he did, it's pretty in depth, and I recommend people listen to it as well.
Absolutely, I agree, and I recommend those films as well.
Well,
Shaun,
I'm actually on my work break, and I really appreciate you taking my call, and I thank you, Mark. And
Without
I'll
a
talk
doubt.
to you again soon.
Always good to hear
All
from
right.
you. Thank you so much for the call. Also, fantastic points that Shaun brought up, especially in regards to male circumcision in our society, and that's a huge oversight on my part that I really should have covered in the main presentation topic. So thanks for bringing up that oversight on my part, Shaun. All right, let's see who else do we have here. Let's go to Aries. Aries, you are live on What on Earth is Happening, episode number 216. The call-in show on our entire society being one big satanic ritual. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Mark. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Coming in loud and clear.
Okay, thank you. It's Andrew from Germany calling in.
Great.
So first of all, thank you for your work. I have to say you're the only YouTuber I know in the whole YouTubing world that does this kind of work on natural law and the occult. There's, of course, some people, libertarians, doing the work, but not as profound as you, and I'm really grateful and really thank you for that, first of all.
That means a lot to me. Thank you.
Okay, first, I want to have... Sorry. I want to ask a question regarding natural law.
Sure, go right ahead.
Because when I teach people or talk to people about natural law and morality and karma, sometimes I ask myself, how do people get punished, from the universe, or people who are doing bad things, like raping, killing, all sorts of wrong doings. So, in your opinion, do they get the consequentials or the consequences of their behavior in this life, or how does it really work? And do you see that in your personal surroundings or from other people?
My answer to that is it's more complex than if you do something wrong, an anvil falls from the sky like in a cartoon. Okay? It's a very complex dynamic that pervades throughout all of society. So some people will experience the negative result of immoral behavior in the physical lifetime that they live. Some will not. Okay? Some, if they are allowed to continuously get away with it because of corruption and ignorance in society, as happens with government and police and military, the negative consequences will go to all of the rest of society that allows the immoral behavior to continue. People don't understand that this dynamic of karma is in effect, and that's how it really works. See, they say, why do bad people get away with bad behavior? If a cop does something really bad and then their fellow police officers cover it up, what's happening to them that's going to generate their consequence and enact negative karma upon them? It doesn't necessarily happen to the individual that conducts it in this lifetime. Sometimes the negative effect spreads out to all of society in the aggregate, because we have put this institutional process and hierarchy and whole institution in effect and allowed it to continue to get away with its corruption and violence without stopping it. See, this is what people don't want to hear, how karma works. They want to think karma is just, an individual did something wrong and the individual immediately has the bad consequences, and it manifests very fast in their own lives in the physical world. And that's not how it works, folks. The dynamic is way more complex than that, okay? And that the easy answer for somebody to swallow would be, that's just how it works. It doesn't work like that, okay? We have put the system of slavery in place collectively, and we collectively reap the negative consequence of that system that we allow to stay in place through our fear and inaction. No one wants to hear that. No one wants to hear that that's how karma works, that that's how natural law works. Natural law is always operating in the aggregate. We have to see karma as an aggregate response in the human condition, infinitely more so than just an individual response. See, people are hung up on the individual response of natural law in our lives, right? That's the part they want to hear. Because why? That's what they've been told, how it works. They've been told that through Hollywood. They've been told that through depictions of how karma works. And they've been told that through false spiritual teachings about how it works. They don't want to hear the complexities of it, and they don't want to hear the aggregate nature of it, meaning how does it work on a collective scale? The cop who kicks a woman in the back of the head and gives her brain damage doesn't necessarily automatically lose his job, lose all of his friends, get divorced from his wife, lose his money, lose his house, and live destitute for the rest of his life. That's not how it works. He might keep doing that. And his members of his thin blue line cult might keep covering up his crimes as a psychopath. And he might get away with it and die never having those consequences. But where are they going? You know where they're going? All throughout everybody else in society, creating a whole world of slavery. That's how that karma manifests. Why? Because the vast bulk of the majority of human beings on this planet think that the whole system that individual is involved with is just perfectly fine, dandy, and moral, and should be allowed to continue without stopping it. Perfectly fine. So what's going to happen is the whole universe looks at the aggregate morality, not just an individual behavior. Oh yeah, you do individual bad behaviors. More likely than not, it's going to catch up with you even in this lifetime. It can happen like that, but it doesn't have to happen like that. The more shielded an institution is from karma being visited upon it in the physical world through the behavior of people, which is what government does, which is what the occultists do, which is what the police and military do, the harder it is for individual karmic consequence to be visited directly upon the individuals doing it. What happens is, because we don't overcome our fear and physically stop those behaviors from being done by force, karma gets diffused and natural law consequences get visited in the aggregate, collectively on all the people of the society who are allowing that behavior to institutionally continue. Does that clarify the point of how natural law really functions in the aggregate in a wider sense in our society?
Yeah,
a little bit?
So you're saying that we are all co-creating the reality.
We are co-creating the karmic consequential results that all of humanity receives collectively through our individual immoral or moral decision making, and then our subsequent behavioral actualizations of our behavior based on our decision making. And if our decision making comes from a place of cowardice and fear, and we don't stop evil people from doing bad things to other people in the world that they have no right to do, even if it is the government, the military, the police, the karmic consequence gets visited upon all of society through things called tyranny and slavery, which is exactly what has occurred. No belief required. It's not a magical process. We collectively reap the fruits of the behaviors that we collectively sow. That is how natural law works. We get hung up on this Hollywoodized definition of karma and this false, fake-ass Buddhist variant of karma, of just being individual things that happen to people very quickly after we do a behavior. It doesn't work like that. It's infinitely more complex, infinitely more diffused, and working over the aggregate of humanity far more than over the individual. The individual is still going to receive consequence, whether in this lifetime or whatever domain or, a parallel dimension that our consciousness, travels to upon physical death, or other form of consciousness that it transmutes and becomes upon the relinquishing of the physical body, the physical vehicle. But we are not going to escape those consequences, even at an individual level, one way or another. But nonetheless, in the human domain as a species, on the collective species level, that karma gets diffused and the consequences get manifested for all people, because we are all allowing that evil to continue largely unchallenged because of our fear and cowardice. So I hope that answers and clarifies that question.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else while I have you on the line?
Just a quick opinion on Europe from your side, because I heard you're planning on making a presentation about the origin of Nazism and communism.
Yes.
And if you follow the current politics in Germany and Europe, it's going exactly this way. It used to be 80 years ago. So
it makes America look like we're run by angels. I mean, that's how it's. You guys are in a lot of
it's horrible because,
And I feel for you guys. It's like, people go, why do you live where you're at? Because unfortunately, it may be a lot better than where other places are at. Sadly, and like I said, that hurts my heart to say that. But I'm telling you, like, the people in Europe have to stand up, like, on a unified front and confront this and deal with it. seriously, I mean, you guys may literally have to rush at, the proverbial swords at some point. Like, almost unarmed, just in massive numbers. Like, that's what it may take over there. Here, we're going to be in a better position because we have battle arms. You guys have been stripped of all that, largely. I mean, not all of you, but the vast majority. Here, the average gun owner in America owns 8 weapons. 8 of some type of projectile weaponry in the form of some type of gun. The average.
The number of legal weapons in Germany, for example, is about 10 million. So if you have 80 million inhabitants,
that's nothing. Yeah. There's well over 400 to 450 million here, and that's probably a very understated estimate because that's what they know about. It goes way beyond that, and that'll never change. As a matter of fact, more and more pouring in every day, and thank God for it. Thank the creator of the universe for it. You want to say that's violence? No, it isn't. No. Conducting self-defense against tyranny and preparing for that has nothing to do with violence. That's called being truly enlightened as to what may need to be done with tyrants. The old phrase, sic semper tyrannis, always this way with tyrants. They don't back down until they're put down. Unfortunately. What I want to see is for the population to awaken like the sleeping lion that it really is, and to say, no, we're not going to deal with it, and we're going to stop you from doing what you're doing, and we're going to awaken in consciousness and do this the right way instead of having to do it through the physical route. That's how I'd prefer to see it. I'm not pushing for war. People go, you're trying to push for war. No, I'm not. I'm trying to explain to you how hellish war is and that it should be averted when it can be averted. But there are times and places where you've exhausted all other options and then it has to go hot and physical. Unfortunately, that's very unfortunate. We should never let it get to that point, but we're letting it get there. I'm telling you, and when it happens, Europe's going to be in a bad place. You guys are going to be in a really, really bad situation.
Yes.
It's going to be bad here in America, but I'll tell you what, we're not going to fall upon the knives the way you guys are going to have to.
Yeah, you can definitely see, like, I'm currently reading a book called The United States of Europe, and it's telling how the Nazis were already planning during the early 1930s how the European Union looks like, and it is exactly going this way.
That's right. They were running those whole strategic plans and objectives out of Wewelsburg, where the Schwartz Sun, the inner core occult society of the inner core of the SS of the Nazi Party, was run out of. Heinrich Himmler, at Wewelsburg was planning the entire New World Order, as the Germans even called it. They were planning that Wewelsburg was going to be the capital of the world, the center of the whole new Nazi regime. I mean, this is what's really going on, except now it's largely being run out of Brussels and London. It's and really it's all coming out of Rome. You don't think that the Vatican is all connected to this. You're totally asleep. They see themselves as, the keepers of the whole planet, the vicar of Christ, those who own the planet and all of its people. This is all coming out of the old religion. The old religion just morphed into the new religion. People aren't buying the old religious bullshit. Morph it into a new piece of religious bullshit cult and call it government and get everybody bowing down to it and worshiping it and giving their children over to it. That's what this whole society is. One big satanic, ancient, old world religion ritual. And people are none the wiser to it because they have no idea what real Satanism is. Some are wising up. Some are listening. Some are listening attentively, but it's a paltry number. We gotta. The people who do understand are not doing their jobs. For the amount of years I've been doing this, there should be. When you say, my friend Andrew, I'm sorry, what's your name again?
Yes.
Okay. When you say to me that I'm one of the people on YouTube doing this at the highest level, I get a sinking, sick feeling in my stomach when I hear. I appreciate it. It's like I accept it as a compliment, and I very much respect you for saying that to me. But the fact that is the case makes my heart sick. okay? Because I should be a small player in this, right? I should not be the number one person doing this type of work. I should be 1 in a million people worldwide doing this work by this point. And my work should be considered like, oh, that's low, that's candy ass stuff, compared to like how really people should take this as far as the research, the presentation, the production quality. This is rinky-dink shit as far as I'm concerned. We operate on a shoestring budget with volunteers because can't even make the amount of donations to pay people. That's what people think of this. That's how much they value it. That's how much it's valued worldwide. You know? I only in the last year was able to make like 1/3 of the salary yearly that I made when I had a, quote, regular job. Think about living on that type of budget. A third, try to cut your paycheck in a third and live on that and then still do this. This is what I've sacrificed to do this shit. You know? There should be 1 million people at the level of knowledge that I am doing the great work like this and far beyond. And for you to say I'm the person that you consider doing it the best, I so appreciate the comment, my friend, but that's a horrifying thought to me. So that's what I'm trying to encourage people. You got to get involved. You got to learn the technology. You know, if you don't understand how basic communications technology works in the modern world, you can't do this and get it out there for people. You're not going to just talk to the people on your street corner and change the world. You got to put your voice out there publicly with no apologies and with no fear. Use your own name. You don't need to make up a pseudonym name. Tell these people, I'm not afraid of you. This is my name. I'm going to speak. I'm going to speak truth. You're not going to stop me. You're not going to stop me until you put me in the ground. And you're still not going to stop me then. I'm coming back here until the mission is accomplished, no matter how many aeons it takes. That's how crazy of a motherfucker you're dealing with. People say, oh, I want this to be my last lifetime. I'll stay here forever until all are out of mind control. That's the vow I'm making to this cause. I may hate that situation, but guess what? That's how much will fills me and drives me. I may have more willpower than every other human being on this planet put together. Because you're not going to defeat that drive and that will to accomplish the one great work of ending slavery on this planet and eventually everywhere. Because it's wrong and it shouldn't be allowed to continue, and that's the only reason to continue to try to destroy slavery. So, Andrew, thank you so much for the call. I really wish you guys the best in trying to turn your own situation around there in Germany.
Thank you.
And all the best, my friend.
Thank you.
See, folks, I don't dislike your opinions. This is a misnomer about me and my work. I've been very critical of them, harshly critical. But it's like a tough love aspect. You know, you have beautiful elements of your culture and beautiful land and great people in many cases. But I'm telling you, you've let this evil infection spread even further than America has, you know? And there's certain, you know, semi-populist people that are trying to like turn it around and turn it back toward power to the people and, you know, getting away from this authoritarianism. But it's paltry. It's all too few, you know? There's some out there. But I mean, Europe is way more advanced in this virus of authoritarianism and socialism than America is. Even America, as bad as it is not as ensconced in it as Europe is. And so you guys have a lot of work to do, and unfortunately you guys let them take your self-defense rights away. Most of the countries in Europe did a long time ago. Not Switzerland, you know. They still have a nice per capita, you know, population of arms bearers there. But other than that, most places are in deep shit. So let's see, who else do we have? Let's go to Ivan from Phoenix. Ivan, you're live on What on Earth is Happening. Welcome, my friend.
Hey, can you hear me? I'm at work, so pardon the background noise.
No worries. I know you always have good insights to bring, so I'm willing to deal with a little bit of background noise. Welcome.
Oh, wow, I couldn't hear anything you said.
Sorry, I said I'm willing to deal with the background noise because I know you bring insight to the table. We can hear you, so go right ahead.
Okay, cool. Well, you know me with the movies and all that. So as I was listening to your last 2 weeks of Satanism ritual, one of the first things that came to mind for me was how, as a lifelong moviegoer, subconsciously and probably unwittingly participated in many energetic kind of satanic rituals, you know, in a theater.
Brilliant
and
point.
The one that comes to mind is like these 50 Shades series.
Yep.
Because for some reason, well, I know why the reason, but you know, it's this feeling of being in an auditorium with 150 to 300 people, seeing sexual energies and stuff occurring on the screen, and even though people aren't quote unquote participating in doing these actions, those energies are all around us.
That's right.
While
and
we're in that auditorium.
Yep.
Yes.
That perverted and distorted aspect of that sexual energy reaching them and having an effect on their mindset and physiology, without a doubt. Movies are a powerful medium of being able to put certain ideas in people's subconscious mind. This is what we were talking about in the former call with Shaun with Stanley Kubrick. You know, he was an alchemist when it came to making movie allegories. And the very reverse can be true. They can be part of Satanism and a very distorted mindset and be a part of a ritualized element in our society. Definitely a great point that I also left out of my main presentation.
Yeah, especially what baffles me once in a while in the theaters is when we have younger parents, like 20-year-olds that still bring their 2-3-year-old kids to see a movie that has some kind of sexual content, and it's like, hello, there's an energetic form of pedophilia going on when sexual energies are around and there are teenagers or young, young kids in there, and I'm always, baffled by this. Like, boom, there it is. Unconsciously participating in these pedophilic, energetic, satanic kind of rituals.
And many of them may not be mentally ready for, even witnessing depictions of that. That's why parents should exercise caution exposing their children to certain dynamics. And then there are others that they have to, really truly do have to expose them to certain negative things so that they know that they're out there and are prepared to deal with them. Ivan, did we lose you?
No, it's just that once in a while I don't hear you. I don't pick up on what you're saying.
No worries. So, I'm basically agreeing with your point and saying, yes, this is part of something that parents have to be aware of and be prepared to, protect their children against if necessary.
Yeah, and then going on to another level of this satanic kind of thing with the movies. A week or two ago, I took Jaina Espiritu Santo and her boyfriend Noah. They came down here to Phoenix, and we went and saw that new film Midsommar, and that's pretty in depth, pretty intense.
I haven't heard about it. What's the premise?
It's about it's the summer solstice, and it's a ritual that's done over like in Sweden or Switzerland or somewhere over there, and it's supposed to be based on true things, but hey, the movie takes it to the extreme. That's not what really happens. Wink, wink. But yeah, it's very intense. And what I picked up from this movie was we comprehend nature, life, death. The cycles and the human body and the fragility. Actions that might be done. Blood and things like that. And as a moviegoer, it fascinates me how people can see Jason, Michael Myers, Friday the 13th, all these horror movies, slasher films, clap and cheer like, oh man, that was an awesome death. You saw the way his head blew up, man, that was cool. However, when they see a movie like this, like Midsommar, and it's supposed to be like a realistic ritual thing going on, or like sacrifice thing, and a person's head kind of hits a rock and is all bloody, and they're like, oh my god, I can't, they get, it's like that cognitive dissonance where it's like, wait a minute, but that's what would happen to a body, the use of force against a natural object like a rock. But people can't comprehend that. And I think that's part of a satanic thing too, of the ego. Life is what they say. It's like, no, the human body, that doesn't happen. Life is pretty, it's beautiful. We live, we die in our sleeps, and that's it. And this is, so that again, it's that, life is the way we say it is, and showing this natural thing.
It's part of this satanic inversion principle that I talked about over the last couple of weeks. They want to give us depictions of things that are not how things work, false definitions, so it clouds human understanding and creates confusion. And that's the inversion principle, turning truth on its head, turning reality on its head. That's part of the whole satanic ritual that is our society. So yeah, that's absolutely being done with the types of fantasizations that are in movies. It's great when it's allegorical and teaching a lesson, and you understand, and you're suspending your disbelief, for a particular reason. But then it can go too far when it becomes this type of distortion of reality that you're talking about that gets stuck in people's minds, and then they start actually believing it works that way. One of the ways that I think society is a satanic ritual, Ivan, is just how much we're embedded in screens, in looking at things on screens. Because what does that do? It puts people in a passive mode. And then it also gets them to look at life in the real world in a passive way, like we're viewing it somehow on a screen, instead of actively participating in it. So this is a very powerful way that they distort our perceptions and, twist reality and turn it into a ritual of sorts. So absolutely a great point in bringing up regarding how yet another aspect of how our society is this one big ritual conducted by these satanic social engineers.
Correct. And then even on the small screen, you're probably familiar with the TV show American Gods, Showtime. The first season, there was an excellent, albeit extremely negative kind of scene where we had the god of media, played by Gillian Anderson, on a TV screen, and she says a line to the star of the show that the new altar are the screens.
Wow.
Everywhere. TV screens, movie screens, laptops, tablets,
that was
phones, all that, the new altar.
Yeah, that was Kubrick, what he was showing in 2001: A Space Odyssey.
The monolith.
Yeah, that's right. The screen itself,
And then the kicker for in that episode is the next line that the god of media says, where she says, time and attention better than lamb's blood.
Amazing. Now, what show is this? I want to check this out because I have
American Gods.
American Gods. Okay, I'll have to check it out, Yep. And that's on something like Netflix or...
That's on Showtime.
Showtime. All right.
Stars or Showtime? Stars. I think it's Stars.
Okay. I'll grab it from something like Cody or Popcorn Time. There's other things.
If
people want to check out allegorical content in shows, I've recommended Strange Angel. I really think the direction they're going in Strange Angel is just, it's spot on regarding occult teachings regarding Thelema. And I never thought I'd see the day. That's a tiny little indicator of a potential occult resurgence happening in our society. I can't recommend Strange Angel enough, personally. You don't watch... I
heard you mention it, and I started watching it. I did the first episode. Yeah, I was surprised to see.
The second season goes way deeper into the philosophy, and it goes... Okay. The second season destroys the first season. The first season is very good. Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say that we're kind of both surprised and not surprised at how much is being divulged and put out there, but it's kind of self-explanatory that from their perspective, humanity's been dumbed down to such an extent that they can make all the TV shows, movies, videos, music, stating, declaring, and prophesying all the evils that are being done.
That's right.
and nobody's gonna do shit about it. They'll just sit there, eat their popcorn, and be entertained by it. That's why I think a lot of this is coming to light. It's not because of a great revelation.
That's right. That is exactly how these people think. That is their confidence level, and I wish I could tell you it was unwarranted. It is not. They know that that's where they have people. They know it. They're running actuarial supercomputer studies on all of this. They know where the collective mindset of humanity is at. They know where they got us. They know they got us, you know? And until people start turning it around and looking at this, nothing is going to change. People got to stop looking at this as some hokum or a quaint, you know, religion of some kind, and understand this is the philosophy, this is the ideology of the masters of the world is what we are talking about. And they utilize it to high effectiveness. What I wanted to just say real quick is for people that want to look into some of the stuff Ivan's talking about in allegorical content of movies and television, you know, use BitTorrent, use Kodi. Kodi is excellent if you know how to install certain add-ons. You know, you get like the Exodus add-on or something like that, and you could, you know, watch shows that you would ordinarily have to buy subscriptions for free. You know, you check out Popcorn Time. Make sure you get a legitimate copy of it. There's a lot of knockoffs that might have malware in them. You just get it from the official site. And, you know, you could check out Strange Angel and watch it. And, you know, they even offer like magnet links where you can download the episodes in something like Popcorn Time. You know,
yeah, I wanted to bring up to you, Mark, just as a safety precaution for the people that might just run out and go back to that episode where you instructed them on how to use those BitTorrents.
Right.
Yeah, a site like that, Conspiracy Central, yeah, that I doubt that the software on there, the programming and stuff is tracked. However, places where you might find conventional, regular mainstream TV shows and movies, like, you know, I know it's still around, Kick-Ass Torrents, maybe, or Pirate Bay or some other places. Highly recommend people researching VPNs, virtual privacy networks, because if you do check these TV shows out and movies and download them and do it, you know, quite a bit, they tend to track that, and your internet service provider will contact you and say, hey, we noticed copyright infringement, so just to cover, you know, your stuff. And those VPNs are great because it protects your internet, you know, browsing and stuff like that, but it also hides your IP address, so, you know, they don't need to know what you're looking at or what you're doing.
At the very minimum, learn how to install a BitTorrent block list that that is updated on a daily or weekly basis, and at least block known IP addresses that are trying to track people's IP addresses. But a VPN would definitely be a more permanent and / secure solution to you know, browsing things that we know people really don't want us looking into and downloading to preserve. You know, you see what I've amassed. I really don't give a shit what they want me looking into or not. I'm doing it. You know, again, you're gonna have to put me in the ground to stop me. So, you know, you see the when I do something, I go to the extreme and do it all the way. You know, that's how my personality is. So, but Ivan is making some good points there about how to just generally, you know, exercise some self-defense and protecting yourself and people that might want to cause, you know, copyright infringement problems for you, possibly. So, Ivan, thank you so much for that, and thanks for, you know, talking about the allegorical aspect in movies and television when it comes to these types of rituals. So, always great to hear from you, and you know, thanks for bringing those aspects to the table in this discussion, my friend.
All the time. Good talking to you, Mark. Take care.
You got it. Okay, let's go to Gavin. Gavin, you're live on What on Earth is Happening. Welcome. Gavin Burrows, are you there? It looks like you're still muted at your end.
Oh, hey, Mark.
There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Loud and clear. Welcome.
It's great to finally be speaking with you. I've been looking at your work for the past, I think, 3.5 years. I came across you when I was about 16 or 17 in high school, and it completely flipped my entire worldview on its head. And
great. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, just honestly speechless with it all, because, you know, I have family in the military, and trying to explain certain things to him, he just got very defensive. But I want to try and stay on the topic here.
Sure.
So recently I was watching Elon Musk's Neuralink presentation.
I've heard
and
about this.
I kind of want to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah. Okay. That is technology in the body. I'm not for. I'm sorry. I believe that the human body is a temple, and should remain inviolable. And I don't believe in interfacing directly with technology and the physiology. Like, okay, look, you need a hip replacement. That's different. Okay, for trauma like that. There's going to be medical technology that, we may need to repair certain damaged aspects of us. You start getting into direct human brain links with computers, that's where I'm out, How about we exercise our brains and really use them to their full potential before we try to start linking them directly into computers through threads? And he's not talking about fiber optic. He actually used the term threads, neural threads. I mean, this smacks of stuff like Morgellons, This is bioweaponry, And I'm a technologist. I think that people need to learn technology and subdue technology to make it their master, to make it their servant. I'm sorry. Technology should never become the master of people. And that's where we're headed in this society. We're headed, again, I said earlier in the show, the ruling class, the real occultists that are behind the scenes of power are technocratic occultocracy. They are technocratic sorcerers that comprise an occultocracy, a ruling class of occultists in our society. That's who we are ultimately ruled by. They want this type of bioweaponry and biointegration of technology into the human physiology. Why? Because they're not looking at using this as actual human enhancement technology. They're using it as using a control over people, to using it to control them. That's what they're doing with it. They want this interface embedded in the human brain, so when somebody's not thinking the way they want them to think, they can influence that technology to make you think how they want you to think, and therefore behave how they want you to behave. That's the danger and stuff like that. Yeah. So
seems like this is going to be the. Sorry, excuse me. This is going to be like the peak of the Epi-Eugenics program. I mean, if they implement something into your brain and they're going to have like a Bluetooth device attached to your ear so it connects. I mean, first of all, just thinking about the constant, electromagnetic frequencies that are going to be passing through your brain and everything,
that's right,
which can also cause, a lot of neurological issues. But just the fact that they can control the data that's going through and passing through that,
that's right,
through I don't know, I guess some kind of server. It's almost mind-boggling that people could actually chant for this.
That's right. They even mentioned in that press conference that there's this danger of it sort of being hacked and being able to put certain information through it.
What was that, Mark?
Would be unwanted.
Just kind of cut out a little bit.
Yeah, I said that they even mentioned in that press conference that they held that it could potentially be hacked and people could possibly put information unwanted that the person would not want through into the human brain. It's like they even recognized that potentiality could be available, and they were talking about having to make it secure. So, this is the whole agenda of the social engineers at the highest level of the dark occult. They want to take things in the transhumanist direction and actually interface humanity with technology, because they see themselves as the technocratic sorcerers that are ultimately going to be in the long-term control of that technology. And that is the method that they long-term want to control people through.
Exactly. Also, just how do you feel about Elon Musk in general? Because in the beginning, it did seem as though he did want to try and, better humanity, kind of like with Steve Jobs, where, he seemed like he had great intentions and wanted to help people and humanity in general. But it almost seems as though he kind of got hijacked somewhere along the lines and, was being influenced in the shadows.
It's somewhat complicated. He's somewhat of an enigma in some ways, and I don't have a final, take on him, but I don't really trust the direction he wants certain things taken. There is that aspect where, you know, he does want to like kind of change the way we do certain things technologically for the better. But then there's that other aspect where there's this transhumanist aspect, and then there's this possibility that people like that just get co-opted and corrupted and get made offers, and, you know, offers of wealth, and, you know, offers of power. And, you know, they're human and flawed, and they don't have this kind of knowledge. They haven't been involved in deep layers of the occult world and, you know, studied it to this extent, you know, like what I try to put forward here on What on Earth is Happening. So there's a certain lack of knowledge and information regarding who's really running the world. And they see it from their limited perspective level, and they go like, well, I'll partner with this person, or I'll go with this agenda or program, and they become useful dupes in that aspect. And I'm not saying that's definitively the case with Musk, but, you know, I would be very slow to trust any aspect of really what's coming out of him and what he's doing. I would not just jump on board with it. Not saying he's definitively one of these, you know, globalist evil individuals, but it's easy to get ramped up in that. It's easy to get tied up in that. Look at what Apple became. You know, what, you think like Steve Wozniak is some evil globalist? I mean, this guy was a tinkerer in his garage with early technology. You know, he had pure intentions. You know, Jobs took it, you know, totally turned it into a business and was all about the money aspect of it. And then, you know, they called him the spin doctor because he could sell anything and make people think it's the greatest thing in the world. When in fact, you know, it's, you know, not as really innovative or groundbreaking as he's claiming things to be. And, you know, then Apple went, when Jobs got cancer, like I talked about this in past shows and did like a whole psychological workup on the guy. You know, he went off. He lost his mind. You know, he went into a very dark place, could not deal with the potential of his own death, and started really becoming a bad control freak. And what Tim Cook has done with the company, he initially wasn't even his own man. He was just following like the letter of the law of Steve Jobs from the grave, trying to just do the same things the same way he was doing it. And now he's just become even more of a control freak than Jobs even ever was, because, you know, he got in bed with the higher level, you know, technocrats out in Silicon Valley, and just started trying to interject his own agenda into everything. And he's definitely in with these high level globalists. I think the same could be true of Musk, but I'm reserving my judgment on that to say that it's definitively the case. With someone like Cook, I mean, that's the stuff that is coming out of Apple is pure evil, you know. And the same with Google, and the same with YouTube, and the same with Facebook. Facebook is pure evil. I'm saying that right on their platform. Pure evil at the highest levels. The kind of data collection they're doing and the kind of censorship they're involved in. Satanic evil. Okay? Apple, Google, and Facebook. You know, I think Twitter's almost right up there with them. I'm not necessarily going to put them in the same category as that unholy trinity, but, you know, they're almost right at that level. And, you know, I'll reserve judgment on Musk and Tesla for now and say, be wary. Let's put it that way. But with this neural interface, that's not good news. That's bad news. That can only, at the level of spiritual development humanity is at, that can only be a disaster. That can only be a long-term disaster. Human beings should not be messing with things like that in the human neurophysiology at all. That's my take on transhumanism. Yeah. And or arguing with people over minutia. What is it?
We didn't hear his question.
Okay. So your question didn't come out over the air there, so just repeat that. we're having some audio problems via Discord. It looks like the caller's audio is not coming through. I can hear him in my headset, but I don't think it's coming out clearly over the stream. I'm going to very briefly disconnect from Discord and then log back in and see if that clears up the issue. So I'm sorry. You're Gavin Burrows. I'll bring you right back on after I make this disconnect and reconnect. I apologize for this, folks. It'll be brief. So just give me one moment to reconnect. Gavin, are you still with us? Is he back on? I can hear you fine, but it looks like you're still not coming through over our stream, unfortunately. We may have to make a physical disconnect and reconnect. Say something again. All right, so let's disconnect that and reconnect it if possible. Okay? You don't have to do that. I can still hear you in my headset, but we are having problems in the streaming software with bringing audio from Discord into the live stream. Say something one more time. So I apologize for that, folks. Let me just respond to Gavin's question, and our producer will attempt to get the technological problem cleared up. You know, he's saying how many different problems are out there. This is a unimaginably immense field of data where just about any area of human endeavor is so degraded and so in a place of confusion, hardship, just complete backwardsness. I was listening to, on Black Earth Productions, Jordan Maxwell's interview that he recently did with Seth Boza. And Jordan said something that really stuck with me. He just said, where he sees the world at is that the entire world is in the hands of the dark force, the satanic force. And it's just, I've echoed the exact sentiment. I can't agree more. And how many different aspects there are to this problem in every area of life. No, you could delve into any one aspect of life, human institutions. I think the connection might have just been remade with what you did there because it reset on my computer. Go ahead, say something again. Yeah, we're... Because it looks like we're not bringing in people through Discord for some strange reason. Maybe the server is having problems. The Discord server itself is having problems. So that may be the case. But you know, continuing with what I was saying, like, you could pull on any one of those threads, folks. Any thread regarding any human institution, any human aspect in our society. And you could get to the core problem. You could get to the core underlying issue that's going on, which is morality, which is aligning our behavior to morality. And you know what people do? They're working overtime to ignore all the aspects of the problem. What they do is they go out, they try to ignore it, they work, they try to have fun, try to live a lifestyle of just, total pleasure, pleasure pursuit. And they never look at the world in any philosophical way because it's just a big game and joke to them. And if they pulled on one aspect, one thread The whole tapestry would eventually unravel and reveal itself. They would be able to see the big picture because they'd get to the causal factors. But they don't do that. You know, they look at tiny little minutia. You know, instead of doing that, what are people doing? And then putting out the work into the world, they're arguing about minutia on Facebook or Twitter. You know? Construct the work in a way that makes sense. Put it out there for others. Don't let your energy get taken down and misdirected and redirected by getting involved in just endless discussions and fights, verbal arguments on social media that go nowhere. That's one of the reasons these networks were set up. They want people arguing amongst themselves on their platform that they can shut down at any time, instead of people putting high quality material out on a myriad of websites. So Gavin is exactly correct, okay? The amount of problems that are out there alone should influence people to look into any one aspect of it. And from any endpoint you come in at, you know, all those roads go together. They all come together in one big hub. From any aspect that somebody approaches it from, they should hit the bullseye and they should hit the center of it. So think about how hard almost every member of our society has to work to ignore it. You got to get ensconced in minutia and see just the leaf on the tree instead of pulling back and seeing the forest, you know? Or you have to totally work to ignore it all and say, all I'm going to care about is myself and what I get out of this life. I'm going to live for creature comfort. You know, a whole attitude of, you know, pleasure pursuit and nothing else. A hedonistic lifestyle. That's what we have almost everywhere. Again, especially in major cities. I mean, major cities are ancient Babylon. That's what they are, the capital of the Hunger Games movie. Literally. That's the kind of self-absorbed jackasses that you have in just about every major city. Just self-absorbed people. Totally in ego, totally in hedonistic pleasure pursuit. Never looking at any one of these types of problems. So let's just try it one more time. Gavin, are you there? Maybe we can hear you now. Yeah, if you want to ask me another question, I'll respond to it. I'll repeat it and respond to it. You're still not coming through on the air. I think the Discord server has crapped out on us, unfortunately. Okay. We're trying to implement...
Quick aside, I mean...
All right, wait, we just got you back. Go ahead.
Oh, great.
We just got you back.
Yeah, just a quick brief aside. I mean, the term you coined, I think, last week or the week before, is that just everyone is just a mini-me Satanist. I mean, that's all I see. And, you know, in the conversations I have, the people's attitudes, their demeanor, their behavior.
Yep. This is what I've referred to as de facto
people.
Yeah, de facto Satanism. See, de facto means it's from the Latin, de, de, or de in English. It means of or by, okay? And then facto. Facto means deed. It comes from the Latin facere, which means to do. Your action, to act, okay? So de facto literally means in or by way of action. In your actions, in your deeds. De facto Satanist. A Satanist indeed. In your deeds. That's the word indeed comes from de facto. Yes, indeed, that's the case. It means in your action. So people don't have to proclaim that they are a member of this worldwide cult. It doesn't matter whether someone says that they're living a satanic lifestyle or are a Satanist. People can be a Satanist and not ever know that they're a Satanist. I'm very glad you brought this aspect up, Gavin, because it's something that many people still don't understand. It's powerfully important for people to understand, okay? People can be a Satanist and never know it and live their whole entire lives in the mindset of the ideology of Satanism never knowing what that ideology is called, and never knowing that they themselves are actually in that mindset and are therefore a member of that cult, that worldwide cult that spouts and puts out that ideology for other people to absorb and live by. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time we have for this edition of What on Earth is Happening. I want to thank all of the great callers who brought up all phenomenal points in this great call-in show on the topic of our entire society is one big satanic ritual. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been watching What on Earth is Happening. Government is slavery. Thanks so much. Do go on to the What on Earth is Happening website, and if you found value in this presentation, feel free to make a donation at the donate page. We'll see you right here next week, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for viewing.